Divine and Mysterious Immortality. I start my cultivation by adding points as a butcher. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 376, Growing in Power. King Guy in Mountain Market. When Wei Hong returned to the market, he didn't know that a hunting team was angered by the black jade spider because of his actions, and almost died outside the Spider Valley. But even if Wei Hong knew, he wouldn't care. His goal had been achieved, so why would he care about other people's lives? This time, he directly harvested tens of thousands of vitality points, which made Wei Hong's demand for vitality points suddenly become abundant. Finally, I don't have to live a stingy life anymore, and the realm of my skills and spells can finally be improved. Wei Hong has already started to think about how to use this vitality point. He has long wanted to improve the realm of his main skills and several spells, but he used to suffer from a lack of vitality points. Now that he has abundant vitality points, he will naturally not be stingy anymore. It's just that I can't directly improve my cultivation level. What a pity. Wei Hong shook his head slightly greedily, and then secretly thought, the fact that I can draw first-level mid-grade talisman cannot be exposed for the time being. Keep a low profile and act cautiously. This is the way to last long. Wei Hong would naturally not be stupid enough to spread the news that he can draw first-level mid-grade talisman everywhere. First of all, this is not his way of dealing with the world, and it does not conform to his principle of keeping a low profile. Secondly, because his strength is too low, it is not a good thing to stand out on the forest. With his current cultivation level of only the second level of key training, once he becomes high profile, he may be swallowed up by others without knowing it. So whether it is for his own development or for the sake of caution, it is always good to be low-key. After his strength is improved, he will slowly expose the fact that he can draw first-level mid-grade talisman to the people around him. That way it will seem much more reasonable, and no one will have any bad thoughts about him. Since the cultivation base cannot be improved quickly, let's improve the skills and spells first. Wei Hong thought clearly and would only use the vitality points in the right places. Then he immediately started to add points. Ling. Yellow level top grade skills King Muju proficiency plus 100, current proficiency mastery, 26/300, Ling. Yellow level top grade skills King Muju proficiency plus 300, current proficiency minor success, 26 out of 500, Ling. Yellow level top grade skills King Muju proficiency plus 500, current proficiency major success, 26 out of 800, Ling. First level low grade spell wood thorn technique proficiency plus 300, current proficiency minor success, 23 out of 500. Wei Hong directly upgraded his main skills, 3 spells, exorcism, Zhengjinling Siju, talisman drawing and several talisman techniques to the major success realm, and exorcism to the minor success realm. In less than a minute, the tens of thousands of vitality points just obtained from the Spider Valley were consumed in an instant. It's really a relief to use them. The vitality points that I accumulated for several months have been consumed again. Wei Hong looked at the remaining hundreds of vitality points and couldn't help but smile bitterly. Wei Hong's life returned to peace again. In addition to drawing talismans on weekdays, he also began to devote more energy to cultivation. Not only to practicing exercises, but also to practicing spells. Because he knew very well that if he wanted to gain a real foothold in this world of immortal cultivation, he didn't rely on unorthodox methods or various skills, but on his own real strength. Cultivation and realm are the foundation of everything. Without the support of cultivation, other things are like castles in the air, and they may collapse at any time. Moreover, if you don't reach a sufficient realm, no matter how high your skills are, it will be useless. Wei Hong has realized this since he started drawing the fireball talisman. So he began to practice more diligently after drawing talismans. Since the last time Wei Hong distributed all the tens of thousands of vitality points, his strength and skills have also changed greatly. First of all, his skill in drawing talismans has been significantly enhanced. After Wei Hong raised his talisman drawing skills and several talisman techniques to the great success realm, his research and understanding of those talisman techniques became much deeper, and he was also able to draw all kinds of runes easily. Now he has been able to increase the success rate of several first-level low-grade talismans to more than 60%, and his talisman drawing skills are very proficient. There is also the Fireball Talisman. With a continuous deepening of the research on other talismans, he has also increased his success rate in drawing Fireball Talismans to 20%. Compared with before, it can be said to be a significant improvement. Secondly, the speed of cultivation has been greatly improved, far better than before. Because after the King Muju reached the Great Success realm, not only did Wei Hong's understanding of this main cultivation method reach a very high level, but he also became more handy when operating the King Muju. In addition, the Great Success realm of King Muju is more efficient in absorbing and refining spiritual energy. In addition, Wei Hong's daily consumption of spiritual rice and monster meat has also begun to increase, so his cultivation speed has skyrocketed several times. The future is promising. It would be great if there were always vitality points available. After feeling his own cultivation speed, Wei Hong was full of confidence in the future, and at the same time, he was more greedy to get more vitality points. The last change was about several spells. After the Wood Thorn spell, Wood Wall spell, Zhengjinling Siju and Breath Containment spell all reached the Great Perfection realm, these spells began to show their power day by day. Although they are all first-level low-grade spells, after practicing to a high level, the power they show is definitely not to be underestimated among the same level. For example, the release speed of the Wood Thorn spell and Wood Wall spell is no less than 3 times faster than when they were first cultivated. Now Wei Hong can complete the process from pinching the sutra to releasing the spell within one breath. Moreover, the power of the spells in the Great Perfection realm is more than twice that of the entry level. Combined with the extremely fast release speed, it will definitely give the enemy a great surprise in a fight. Even the Zhengjinling Siju, which is a must for leather making, has undergone a qualitative change after reaching the Great Perfection realm. Wei Hong quietly tried it out in the house and found that the power was amazing. At least it was definitely powerful among the same level. Such changes made Wei Hong very satisfied, and he even had the idea of buying a few more spells. If I had enough vitality points, I would only need to practice a few more spells to be able to attack and defend. Unfortunately, this can't be done in a hurry. Wei Hong could already imagine how powerful his spells would be after he pushed most of them to the Great Success or Limit state, and how they would work together, just like martial arts. Tomorrow I will go outside to test it and see how powerful it is, so that I can have a better idea in my mind. After so many months of hard training, Wei Hong had long wanted to verify the results of his training. Chapter 377, Testing the Method, Extremely Powerful. The next day Wei Hong specially set aside an hour and came to the forest outside the market. He did not go deep into the forest, but found a remote and uninhabited area. The reason why Wei Hong came to the forest was to test the power of the magic spells that had reached the Great Perfection realm. After all, magic spells and martial arts are completely different. Although he has cultivated several magic spells to the Great Perfection realm, he has never had the experience of fighting magic, nor has he had the opportunity to use several magic spells with all his strength, so he has not been able to truly understand the power of those magic spells. Let's stop here, no one should show up. After finding a more remote place, Wei Hong stopped. This place is less than 10 miles away from the market, not deep into the forest, but on the edge. In addition, the place Wei Hong found has many huge rocks, and there are all kinds of hugging trees around, which is very helpful in blocking the view. Let's start. After looking around and making sure that there was no one around, Wei Hong said to himself, "Let's try the wood thorn technique first and see how it works." His eyes turned slightly and then he stared at a huge rock 3 meters away. Wood thorn technique, go. Wei Hong quickly made a hand gesture, and the green wood spirit in his body flowed, and then he pointed at the rock in front of him. Swish! A 5-foot-long wooden thorn appeared out of thin air in front of the boulder. The thorn was sharp in front and thick in the back, and its surface had a hard texture like cold iron wood, showing a faint green color. Then the thorn stabbed directly at the boulder without making any sound. Bang! The rock that looked very hard was directly pierced by the thorn, and the broken stones flew, leaving a hole as big as a bowl. The thorn instantly turned into sawdust all over the sky. From Wei Hong's move to the collision between the thorn and the boulder, it only took 2 breaths. Not bad, not bad, the casting speed has really improved a lot. Now I can use the wood thorn technique in just 1 breath. I've really become more proficient, but I just lack some experience in fighting against enemies. The power has also increased by at least 3 times compared to the beginning. It can even penetrate rocks, not to mention flesh and blood bodies. Looking at the pierced rocks, Wei Hong had an obvious smile on his face. At the same time, he was carefully analyzing and recording the casting speed and power of the wood thorn technique, and the results made him very satisfied. Do it again. Wei Hong pinched the spell again to cast the spell. Bang! The rock was penetrated again. The result was exactly the same as the first time. Wei Hong smiled with satisfaction and ended the experiment on the wood thorn technique. Next, let's try the wood wall technique. The spell in Wei Hong's hand changed, and the green wood spirit in his body gushed out again. The next breath. Puff! A black shadow enveloped Wei Hong's head. Wei Hong looked up and saw a wall suddenly appeared in front of him. It was a wooden wall. This wooden wall was about 10 feet long, 3 feet high, and 1 foot wide. The wooden wall was green all over, like a whole giant tree, with very clear texture, and looked extremely solid. In addition, a layer of blue-black vines was wrapped around the surface of the wooden wall, and the vines were covered with fine barbed thorns. It was easy to imagine what would happen if a flesh and blood body hit such a wooden wall. Or if it was erected in the direction of the enemy's escape, it should also bring a big surprise to the enemy. After all, such a solid wooden wall is not easy to break. Fall. In order to test the hardness of the wooden wall technique, Wei Hong pinched his fingers and pointed at the rocks below. Bang! The two collided and made a loud noise. The wooden wall was broken into 2 pieces by the rocks and fell to the ground, and the rocks were also flattened by the wooden wall. Well, it's wood after all, and it's still a little worse than the hard rocks. Seeing this result, Wei Hong was thoughtful. At the same time, he also had a clear understanding of the power and function of the wooden wall technique. It can block the enemy, attack, and defend and protect oneself. Wei Hong instantly thought of no less than 3 ways to use the wooden wall technique. The wood spike technique and the wood wall technique seem to be able to cooperate with each other. 1 attack and 1 defense are quite suitable. If the magic power is sufficient, 4 wooden walls can be erected around at the same time, and then the wood spike technique can be dropped from above. I wonder what the effect will be. The Vajra talisman should be unstoppable. At least a first-level medium-quality defensive talisman is required. Wei Hong continued to think divergently and began to construct a coordinated combat method between spells. He wanted to develop and utilize the several spells he had learned so far as much as possible. After all, the spells he could learn now were relatively limited, and his cultivation was not high. The degree of development of spells determined a large part of his strength. Unlike other immortal cultivators, Wei Hong had vitality points to rely on. In theory, he could develop every spell to the extreme. In this way, the originally ordinary spells in his hands could burst out with power beyond the imagination of ordinary people. In the future, anyone who dared to underestimate Wei Hong would pay a heavy price for it, even his life. Well, not bad. It would be great if it could be developed to the ultimate realm. It might be even stronger than the first-level middle-grade spell. Wei Hong nodded slightly with satisfaction, and at the same time, he was more looking forward to the effect of the ultimate realm spell. Let's try the Zhengjin Lingxi Ju again. Wei Hong's mind moved, and he directly activated the Zhengjin Lingxi Ju. The next moment, Wei Hong's body suddenly transformed into several light golden spiritual threads. Those light golden spiritual threads danced around him with his mind, like a long snake. Wei Hong then stretched out his hand and pointed, and several golden spiritual threads suddenly swung in the air, cutting directly towards the rock in front that had been ravaged twice. Puff! When the golden spiritual threads approached the rock, they instantly stretched like steel wires, and then cut across. The rock that was more than 10 feet high was like tofu, and was directly cut into several pieces. Hissing iron like mud. Wei Hong was surprised. He also didn't expect that this spell, which was originally used to cut the skin of the talisman, could burst out with such terrible power after reaching the great perfection realm. Such a spiritual thread that can cut iron like mud is like cutting into the human body. How can an ordinary body resist it? Haha, good, very good. In excitement, the golden spiritual threads waved in the air more flexibly. At this moment, Wei Hong had already made up his mind that he must master the Zhengjin Lingxi Ju spell to the extreme realm. Not bad, it's really sharp. Wei Hong was delighted to control several spiritual threads to wave and cut back and forth in the mountains and forests. The big trees had no power to resist, and were cut into 2 pieces like tofu, and then fell down with a bang. Of course, The spiritual energy in Wei Hong's body was also being consumed rapidly. After a happy practice, Wei Hong was worried that the loud noise would attract other people's attention, so he immediately left the place. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 378, Spirit Mind Takes Action. Another direction. Wei Hong left the area where he had just tested the spells and came to another area near the edge of the market. The power of several spells is far beyond my expectations. With my current strength, I should not be considered a weak player among the same level, right? Wei Hong walked while thinking carefully in his heart. As long as I am not facing a cultivator above the middle stage of key training, I should have the strength to fight. Even the third level of key training may not be able to stop my spell combination. After the spell practice just now, Wei Hong found that his combat power was already somewhat not to be underestimated. Especially if several spells are used in conjunction with each other, the combat power can be even stronger. So he is no longer the innate warrior who can be bullied by others when he first entered the world of immortal cultivation, and he is enough to truly gain a foothold in the Qingyuan mountain market. In this way, I can also be considered to have some self-protection power, right? Although it was a guess, Wei Hong already had a positive answer in his heart. He also felt that it was worth it for the tens of thousands of vitality points invested in several spells. Then I will focus on improving my cultivation, and draw talismans as a supplement. I will harvest vitality points every once in a while. Then I will use the vitality points to continue to enhance the power of my spells and the realm of several talisman techniques, and strive to break through to the middle stage of key training as soon as possible. As long as I break through to the middle stage of key training, the success rate of drawing the fireball talisman will be greatly improved, and it will be easier to obtain vitality points at that time. Wei Hong obviously had a clear plan for the next step in his mind, and his goals were even clearer. At the same time, the positioning between the primary and the secondary was also very clear. The realm of cultivation was still the most important, and he always put it first. Others, whether it was drawing talismans or spells, were only auxiliary, and of course they also needed to be improved. Since I want to quickly improve my cultivation, the help of elixirs is absolutely indispensable. But if I want to buy elixirs, I need a large amount of spirit stones, and I definitely can't afford it with my current income. It seems that it's time to sell that batch of ore. Wei Hong's eyes flashed with a thoughtful light, and he slowly made a decision in his heart. In order to get enough resources for cultivation, he decided to sell all the thousands of kilograms of spirit ore he had saved in Shenjianen. That batch of spiritual ore can be said to be Wei Hong's most abundant resource now. As long as it can be cashed, he will instantly have a large amount of funds. Wei Hong had the idea of using this resource when he first came to Qingyuan Mountain Market. However, considering that his own strength was low at that time, once exposed, it would definitely lead to fatal disaster, so he has been hiding it until now and has not made a move easily. Now it is different. He has a little self-protection power and believes that he can ignore some greedy eyes. This is why he did not return to the market immediately after practicing magic. The disguise technique is really a good skill. Wei Hong directly performed the disguise technique, and then performed the breath-retaining technique to restrain all his own breath. Then he put on a black coat outside the robe again, and walked towards the market. Without any obstruction, Wei Hong, who had changed his appearance, walked into the market easily. His first destination was very clear, that was the treasure pavilion. After arriving at the treasure pavilion to explain his purpose, Wei Hong was received by a steward. I don't know what this distinguished guest's name is. I'm Mo Xingyu, the manager of the treasure pavilion. I heard that the guest wants to sell spiritual ore. I wonder if you can take it out for me to see first. A manager of the treasure pavilion with white hair and a young face came over after hearing the news and greeted Wei Hong very politely. Selling things is different from buying things, and it is a material like spiritual ore. Ordinary servants can't make the decision, so the manager Mo Xingyu directly greeted him. So it's Manager Mo in person. I'm Shen Tian. Wei Hong also politely bowed his hands, and then replied, of course I can, Senior Mo, please take a look. Wei Hong saw that Mo Xingyu was at the 5th level of key training, and his heart was secretly shocked. Then he took out several spiritual ores from the storage bag and placed them in front of Mo Xingyi one by one. Hey, Shenchu Zuanjing. Golden flame iron. Erosion bone silver sand. And Zuanine glazed stone. The white-haired and childish Mo Xingyi was worthy of being the manager of the treasure pavilion. His eyesight is indeed extraordinary. He recognized all the spiritual minerals that Wei Hong had placed on the table, and he called out the names of these spiritual minerals at once. Good stuff, all good stuff. Mo Xingyi nodded as he looked at them, then stroked his beard with a smile and said, how many spiritual minerals can you take out, and we guarantee that we can take them all. Let's talk about the price first. Wei Hong glanced at Mo Xingyi with a faint expression. Haha, it's me who is rude. Mo Xingyi suddenly realized, and smiled and apologized, and then said, don't worry, sir, our treasure pavilion has a fair price, and we are absolutely fair to everyone. This sinking black crystal is priced at 8 spiritual stones per 100 caddies, and the golden flame iron is priced at 7 spiritual stones per 100 caddies. The bone-eroding silver sand is priced at 10 spiritual stones per 100 caddies. Finally, this kind of black yin glass stone is priced at 12 spiritual stones per 100 caddies. We will take as many as you can get. Wei Hong's eyes moved slightly, knowing that the price given by Mo Xingyi was indeed fair, and he did not mean to lower the price. He thought for a moment, and took out more than 1,000 kilograms of spiritual ore from his storage bag. That's all, Manager Mo, please count them and give me an estimate. Wei Hong took out about 300 kilograms of each of the 4 spiritual ores. Even the treasure pavilion was not worth it for him to trade all the thousands of kilograms of spiritual ore, and he didn't want to be targeted. Selling in batches was a plan he had already thought of, and the treasure pavilion was the first stop of the plan. Okay, fellow Taoist Shen, wait a moment, I'll have someone count and quote the price. Seeing that Wei Hong really took out more spiritual ores, Mo Xingyu's eyes lit up, and he quickly called 2 servants to start counting. The 2 servants quickly finished counting, and then informed Mo Xingyi of the weight of the 4 spiritual ores. Mo Xingyi smiled and said to Wei Hong, fellow Taoist Shen, the 4 spiritual ores you brought out are 300 kilograms each, of which 300 kilograms of submerged black crystals are worth 24 spiritual stones. 300 kilograms of golden flame iron are worth 21 spiritual stones. 300 kilograms of bone-eroding silver sand are worth 30 spiritual stones. 300 kilograms of black yin glass stone are worth 36 spiritual stones. The 4 spiritual ores add up to a total of 111 spiritual stones. What do you think, fellow Taoist Shen? If you agree, we will make the deal immediately. About 1,200 kilograms of spiritual ores were sold directly for hundreds of spiritual stones. How could Wei Hong not be satisfied with such a fair price? He couldn't be more satisfied. Okay, let's take this price. Wei Hong nodded calmly to show that he had no objection, but secretly felt that he had made a small fortune this time. Chapter 379 Kingling Pill. Treasure Pavilion. Seeing Wei Hong nod in agreement, the white-haired and youthful Mo Xingyi immediately smiled and stroked his beard and said, okay, fellow Taoist Shen, wait a moment, I will order someone to deliver the spirit stones right away. Mo Xingyi waved his hand, and a servant immediately withdrew 111 spirit stones from the counter. No hurry, I still want to buy some elixirs from your pavilion. Wei Hong stretched out his hand to stop the servant from handing over the spirit stones. Oh? What kind of elixir does fellow Taoist Shen need? I will order someone to bring it right away. Mo Xingyu's attitude was as enthusiastic as ever. Wei Hong answered without hesitation, I need elixirs that can improve my cultivation. Could you please, Manager Mo, introduce some to me? Haha, no problem. Mo Xingyi stroked his beard gently and asked before introducing, we sell all kinds of elixirs in Treasure Pavilion. There are many kinds of elixirs that can improve cultivation. If fellow Taoist Shen doesn't mind, could you please tell me what kind of elixir you need? What grade do you need? It's best to have a wood-attributed elixir, either a lower grade or mid-grade first grade one. Wei Hong said casually. That's easy. We have 2 kinds of wood-attributed elixirs that meet fellow Taoist Shen's requirements and can be used to improve cultivation. Mo Xingyi was familiar with the various elixirs in the Treasure Pavilion and introduced them directly. The first kind is the first-grade inferior elixir Kingling Dan, which is suitable for cultivators in the early stages of key training. It can also be used below the 4th level of key training, but the effect will be worse. This Kingling Dan is priced at 30 spirit stones per bottle, and there are 10 finished pills in one bottle. The other is a first-grade intermediate elixir Zhikyodan. This elixir is suitable for cultivators in the middle stage of key training. Its effect will be reduced by half if used in the late stage of key training. Zhikyodan is priced at 70 spirit stones per bottle, and there are 10 finished pills in one bottle. Mo Xingyu briefly introduced the two elixirs that met Wei Hong's requirements. Wei Hong's face remained calm, but after listening to the story, he secretly complained in his heart, "It's really fucking shady." A bottle of first-level low-grade elixir is worth 30 spirit stones, which means one elixir costs 3 spirit stones. How rich do you have to be to afford it? He was shocked by the price of these elixirs. He knew it would be expensive, but he didn't expect it to be so outrageously expensive. But on second thought, the spiritual ore in his hands was also a windfall, and his need to improve his cultivation was also very urgent, so Wei Hong gritted his teeth and made a decision. "Give me 3 bottles of kindling pills." Wei Hong seemed very calm. "Okay, I'll send someone to get the elixir right away." "Fellow Taoist Shen, please wait a moment." Mo Xingyu would naturally not refuse any deal. Soon, 3 bottles of kindling pills plus 21 spirit stones were all placed in front of Wei Hong. "Thank you." Wei Hong bowed, took the elixir and spirit stones, and left the treasure pavilion without looking back. Then he repeated the previous operation. First, they changed their appearance, and then sold all the remaining spiritual ores in batches, and sold them to various shops in the market. After all, rare spiritual ores are basically accepted by every shop, and the prices are not much different. Therefore, after Wei Hong sold all the thousands of kilograms of spiritual ores, including the 3 bottles of kindling pills he bought, he finally earned a huge profit of more than 350 spiritual stones. Such a huge sum of money made Wei Hong's mind tremble. There was no way. The amount was far beyond his expectations. This was also the largest amount of spiritual stone income he had since he entered the world of immortal cultivation. More than 300 spiritual stones. I have to draw talismans for at least half a year to earn it, and I have to go without food and drink to save so much? It's true that no one can get rich without windfall. Wei Hong was full of emotion, and at the same time he was extremely vigilant. For a cultivator in the early stage of key training, more than 300 spiritual stones are definitely an unimaginable huge sum of money. Even ordinary casual cultivators cannot save such a large amount of spiritual stones after accumulating for several years. When he thought that losing money might lead to fatal disaster, Wei Hong frowned secretly. So he didn't hesitate at all. Just like in the treasure pavilion, he took out most of the remaining 200 spirit stones and bought all of them with kindling pills. Moreover, he changed his appearance many times and bought them in batches from multiple shops, without attracting anyone's attention. Anyway, pills can be stored for a long time, and exchanging a large amount of spirit stones for pills is convenient and trouble-free, and it is not easy to leak money and attract attention. The most important thing is that Wei Hong originally wanted to use the power of pills to improve his cultivation speed, and it was just right to exchange spirit stones for kindling pills at this time. Cultivation is the top priority. As long as you improve your cultivation, other things will naturally come. Wei Hong thought very clearly and understood what cultivation is the most important. So he exchanged 300 spirit stones for 10 bottles of kindling pills, and the remaining 50 spirit stones were kept for daily living expenses. After finishing all this, Wei Hong quietly returned to House 30. It was not until this moment that he took out 10 bottles of pills and placed them neatly in front of him. Thousands of kilograms of spiritual ore were exchanged for 10 bottles of first-grade inferior elixirs. This is not only a huge profit, but also a robbery. At this moment, Wei Hong couldn't help but have a strong desire to learn alchemy. There was no other way. The elixir was too profitable. The huge profit was enough to drive people crazy. If learning alchemy did not require too many resources in the early stage, Wei Hong's first choice might be to go to the alchemy workshop. Now that he knew about the huge profits of elixirs, his desire to learn alchemy became even stronger. I will learn alchemy when I have more money in the future. Anyway, I have found a channel to obtain vitality points stably. As long as there are enough vitality points, it is not difficult to add an alchemist. By then, I can make elixirs myself. Why do I need to be a sucker and spend a lot of money to buy elixirs outside? I can even sell elixirs and talismans together to earn more spiritual stones. The more Wei Hong thought about it, the more excited he became. He even seemed to be unable to stop. With a system by his side and the all-powerful and powerful golden finger of vitality points, how could Wei Hong be willing to be lonely? If possible, he even thought about developing in an all-round way, practicing all the 100 arts of cultivating immortals, such as alchemy, talisman drawing, refining instruments and array formations. Then with the help of the ability of vitality points to add points, all the 100 arts of cultivating immortals can be perfected or even reach the limit. In this way, his strength will not have any shortcomings. He does not need to buy those finished pills or talismans from outside. Whether it is pills, talismans, array formations and instruments, he can solve them by himself. Unfortunately, these are just his immature ideas at present. It is not known how long it will take to realize them. Don't think too much for now, try the kindling pill. I want to see what magical effect the pill that costs 3 spirit stones has. Wei Hong emptied his mind and slowly took out a kindling pill. Chapter 380 Breakthrough, 3rd level of key training. The night is like ink. The Kingayan Mountain Market, which had been bustling all day, slowly returned to peace at this moment. The quiet night enveloped house number 30, and the moonlight was like water, gently covering the entire area nearby like silver yarn. There were not many insects and birds around, making the entire Class C rental area even quieter. The breeze blew by, bringing a hint of coolness and blowing away the heat of the day. In the house, Wei Hong sat cross-legged on the bed quietly. He closed his eyes lightly, slowly adjusted his breathing, and calmed his mind quickly without any ripples. In front of him was a small and exquisite white jade bottle, the mouth of which was plugged by a spiritual wood stopper. After a while, Wei Hong gently opened his eyes, picked up the white jade bottle, opened it, and poured out a green pill the size of a longan. Without any hesitation, he took out the green pill and put it directly into his mouth, then closed his eyes again. The pill melted in his mouth and turned directly into a rich spiritual energy that quickly spread. Wei Hong could clearly sense a warm force flowing slowly in his body, nourishing his meridians and danshan. As the spiritual energy flowed, his complexion gradually became ruddy, and a faint green light emanated from his body. Wei Hong immediately concentrated his mind and began to run the King Mu Ju with all his strength, slowly guiding the spiritual energy transformed by the elixir to run in the meridians, constantly refining and absorbing it. In the process of cultivation, he could feel that his cultivation was improving little by little, and the spiritual energy in his body was slowly becoming more abundant. Wei Hong was immersed in this state of cultivation and did not move, as if he had forgotten the passage of time. 4 hours later, Wei Hong's eyelids trembled slightly, and the next moment he opened his eyes. A bright light flashed in his eyes, and his breath also increased a little. Wei Hong took a long breath, and then whispered to himself, with the help of the power of the elixir, I have practiced for 3 months, and the progress of the 2nd level of key training has exceeded half. I believe that I should be able to break through in 2 or 3 months. Thinking of this, Wei Hong's face couldn't help but flash a hint of joy. Taking the pill and not taking the pill are 2 completely different cultivation speeds. After 3 months, with the help of the kindling pill, his cultivation speed increased dramatically, and the progress of the 2nd level of key training has been completed. Wei Hong was quite satisfied with the effect of the kindling pill, and secretly thought that it was indeed a wood-attributed pill, and the targeted cultivation effect was really good. It would be great if I could continue to take the pill to practice, but it's a pity. Wei Hong sighed, but the fantasy in his heart was just a fantasy after all. After taking the pill and experiencing the extremely fast cultivation speed, if Wei Hong returned to the days before the pill, he was really afraid that he would not be able to adapt. But the reality is like this. With his current income, it is really unrealistic to continue taking pills to practice. Let's break through to the 3rd level of key training first and then think about these. Suppressing the distracting thoughts in his heart, Wei Hong closed his eyes again. Another 2 months later. Since buying 10 bottles of kindling pill, Wei Hong has been practicing madly every day, striving to break through as soon as possible. With the help of the elixir, his cultivation naturally made rapid progress, and after 5 months, he finally reached the edge of a breakthrough. That night, Wei Hong sat cross-legged on the bed with a solemn face. At this time, the spiritual energy in his body was very full, at least twice as strong as when he just broke through to the 2nd level of key training, filling his own meridians. Moreover, Wei Hong also clearly felt that as long as he struggled slightly, he could completely complete the breakthrough. Come on. Wei Hong whispered. He picked up the white jade bottle and poured all the 2 kindling pills in the bottle into his mouth. The 2 spiritual energies merged into one, which seemed huge and full. Wei Hong did not dare to neglect it, and immediately ran the King Mu Ju with all his strength, constantly refining and absorbing the huge spiritual energy, and then integrating it into his own Danshan. As the huge spiritual energy was constantly refined and absorbed, he also clearly sensed a slight soreness and pain in his meridians. If Wei Hong could look inward, he would find that his meridians were slowly widening, allowing it to accommodate more spiritual energy. He emptied his mind and ran the exercises with all his strength. After an unknown amount of time, Wei Hong's body shook slightly. I finally broke through. Wei Hong slowly opened his eyes full of joy. At this moment, his meridians were more than doubled, and the spiritual energy in his body doubled, reaching the size of a thumb. The light blue spiritual energy slowly circulated in his meridians, making Wei Hong feel very happy. After breaking through to the 3rd level of Qi training, not only did the soreness of the meridians disappear, but he could also clearly feel that his strength had increased a lot. Is this the 3rd level of Qi training? It feels really good. Wei Hong clenched his fists, feeling happy that he had increased his strength a lot. After meditating and practicing hard every night, he finally got a gratifying result. I practiced hard for 5 months, and I was able to break through with the help of the power of the elixir. It's really worth it that I spent 300 spirit stones to exchange for these 10 bottles of kindling pills. What a pity, there is not a single one left. I worked hard for half a year, and now I'm back to the time before liberation. Looking at the empty white jade bottle in front of him, the joy on Wei Hong's face turned into a look of disappointment. Although it took 5 months to complete the breakthrough, the cost and resources invested made Wei Hong feel very painful. Others need several years to break through once, but he easily completed the breakthrough in just 5 months with the help of the power of the elixir. It seems very impressive, but in fact only Wei Hong knows how much he has paid. I can only complete the breakthrough in such a short time by relying on the power of the elixir. What if there is no elixir? Will I also need to spend several years to advance to the 3rd level of Qi training? The joy after the breakthrough suddenly dissipated, and Wei Hong began to re-examine his talent. Because he knew very well that in order to break through to the 3rd level of Qi training, he spent more than 300 spirit stones, and the consumption of elixirs, spirit rice and monster meat almost emptied his entire fortune. With such a huge investment, he barely broke through to the 3rd level of Qi training. Such a cruel reality made Wei Hong couldn't help but sigh. This is still the initial stage of Qi training. In the future, I need to break through to the middle stage of Qi training, the late stage of Qi training, or even the foundation building stage. How many resources and spirit stones should I invest to help me break through? The more than 300 spirit stones before were unexpected windfalls. Where can I find the huge resources needed for cultivation in the future? If there is no elixir to help me in the future, will it be difficult for me to even break through to the late stage of Qi training? This world of cultivating immortals is really difficult. Such poor talent made Wei Hong's heart a little confused and gloomy, and he was deeply worried about the future path. Chapter 381, Robbery? Blood Eagle. Qingyuan Mountain Market. On this day, Wei Hong went out at 3:30 p.m. as usual and walked slowly towards the talisman workshop. It had been more than a month since he broke through to the 3rd level of Qi training. During this month, Wei Hong's life returned to peace again. Without the kindling pill, his cultivation speed returned to the previous level. Although it was not too slow, it was still a little uncomfortable for Wei Hong compared to taking drugs. However, reality is reality. Without the pill, he could only practice normally, so he relaxed a little and no longer practiced as hard as before. Of course, breaking through to the 3rd level of Qi training also brought Wei Hong a lot of changes. First of all, his strength increased by at least twice, and with several spells that reached the great success level, he was no longer afraid of cultivators below the middle stage of Qi training. Secondly, the growth of spiritual energy has a significant increase in the art of drawing talismans, which can not only support him to draw more talismans, but also increase his success rate of drawing various talismans by half to 10%. Especially for drawing the 1st level middle grade fireball talisman, the success rate has increased to 25%, which makes Wei Hong very happy. In this way, his monthly income can be increased accordingly. Sure enough, strength is the foundation of everything. When strength is improved, the talisman drawing skills are also enhanced a lot. Only in this way can we earn more spiritual stones. Wei Hong was walking in the market, thinking secretly in his heart. As he walked, he found that the atmosphere of the Kingayan Mountain Market today seemed to be a little wrong, a little different from the past. What happened? Why do I feel that the atmosphere in the market is a little wrong? It seems a little tense. Wei Hong paused slightly and frowned. He slowed down his pace and began to look around. Wei Hong found that the cultivators who used to be leisurely on the street seemed to be in a hurry today. There was no calmness and leisure when strolling around on weekdays, and many cultivators' faces flashed a trace of uneasiness and solemnity from time to time, as if something bad was about to happen. Even many monks who passed by Wei Hong were talking to each other in groups, constantly discussing something. He also saw that all the monks who went out of the market gate were in groups, and no one was alone. Wei Hong observed for a while and determined that the atmosphere in the market was indeed much more tense than before, as if everyone was in danger. At this time, two monks in grey robes were passing by him, and Wei Hong happened to hear a few words of their conversation. "Fellow Taoist Min, you must not leave the market during this period." "Fellow Taoist Li, is it true that the robber cultivators are out there? Are they waiting outside the market?" "It's absolutely true. That group of new robber cultivators are extremely cruel and ruthless. No less than 10 people have already suffered. Let's avoid this storm first." "Fellow Taoist Li is right. We can't take chances. Let's go buy some life-saving talismans." As the two cultivators hurriedly walked farther and farther away, Wei Hong gradually couldn't hear their conversation. However, he only heard a few sentences, but the content was enough to make him change color. "Robber cultivators are out there. A new group. No less than 10 people have already suffered." Wei Hong muttered with a serious face, and then he understood why the atmosphere in the market today was so tense. "Let's go to the market first and ask someone by the way." Just a few sentences of conversation couldn't explain anything, so Wei Hong wanted to go to the market to find out the news. Soon, he arrived at the market. He found that the market, which was not so crowded in the past, was now crowded with people. Most of the stalls were visited by customers, especially those selling talismans and magic tools, which were crowded with monks. It seemed that the talismans and magic tools were free, and everyone was scrambling to buy them. At the same time, various discussions also reached Wei Hong's ears. "Have you heard? A group of new robbers came to the outside of the market, and many people were killed. Not only that, I also heard that the leader of that group of robbers is very scary and is good at sucking people into mummies. Who knows how many people there are in that group of robbers? How about we go out together to drive them away? The robbers are blocking the road. What should we do? Are they hiding in the market all the time?" Some people were indignant, some were worried, and some were not afraid of trouble. Various news came one after another. After a long while, Wei Hong finally found a stall owner who was selling talisman skins and asked, "Fellow Taoist Kui, what's going on?" The stall owner's name was Kui Lin, and he had talked with Wei Hong several times. Hearing Wei Hong's question, Kui Lin looked at him in surprise. "Fellow Taoist Wei, you don't know. What do you know?" "To be honest with you, fellow Taoist Kui, I was just about to go to work, and I really don't know what happened." Wei Hong smiled bitterly, his eyes full of confusion. Seeing that Wei Hong really didn't know, Kui Lin narrowed his eyes and answered, "It is said that a new robbery group has come from outside the market. This robbery group is called Blood Eagle. The number of robbers in this group is unknown, but they are very cruel and crazy. Many cultivators have been killed by them. Now the Blood Eagle robbers are guarding outside the market. If you walk out of the market, you may be targeted by them, so many cultivators dare not be alone. See, those people are rushing to buy all kinds of talismans and magic tools, all wanting to add a few means of life-saving for themselves." At the end, Kui Lin seemed to have a sneer, as if he was quite disdainful of those rushing purchases. I don't know if it was out of jealousy, because not many people came to him to buy talisman skins. So that's how it is. Wei Hong suddenly understood. No wonder everyone in the market seems to be in danger and seems quite nervous. It turns out that the robbery cultivators are out and guarding outside the market. They are going to keep an eye on the people in the market. That's right. After hearing about this incident early in the morning, the cultivators in the market who were preparing to go out didn't dare to go out. Kui Lin nodded, and a trace of uneasiness flashed across his face. Since Kui Lin is also a person from the Kingayan Mountain Market, he naturally cannot stay out of it, unless he stays in the market. If you want to leave the market, You have to consider the consequences of being targeted by the robbery cultivators. For ordinary casual cultivators, being targeted by the robbery cultivators is definitely a serious matter of life and death, and no one wants to encounter it. However, if you stay in the market and don't go out, many casual cultivators will lose the channel to earn spirit stones and the way to make a living, just like the hunting team. Without spirit stones and cultivation resources, it is absolutely unbearable for cultivators. It must be said that this group of new robbery cultivators seems to be very knowledgeable and has pinched the weak points of many cultivators. This is also the reason why so many monks are nervous and anxious. Chapter 382 The first 3 things a new official does upon taking office. It's right not to dare to go out. Going out now is courting death. Wei Hong replied calmly, as if he was watching a play. Compared with Kui Lin, there was no uneasiness or tension on his face. Instead, he seemed to be a little unconcerned, or even a little indifferent. Kui Lin frowned and looked at Wei Hong. Wei, aren't you afraid? What should I be afraid of? Wei Hong smiled indifferently. I'm not leaving the market. Anyway, I live inside the market. At most, I won't go out. I don't believe that group of robbers dare to come into the market to kill people and rob goods. He also didn't believe that the group of robbers would stay outside the market all the time. In addition to brushing vitality points, he really didn't need to leave the market. For safety reasons, he could naturally give up brushing vitality points temporarily and stay alive for a while. Therefore, the group of robbers outside could not pose any threat to Wei Hong at all, and it didn't have much impact on him. Kui Lin nodded with a heavy face at this time. Fellow Taoist Wei is right. It is better not to leave the market for a short time. Right. Wei Hong suddenly remembered something and frowned and asked, does the patrol team in the market not care? Are they just letting the robbers kill and rob? Aren't they afraid of affecting the reputation of the market? Logically speaking, the patrol team should handle everything that happened around the market, but Wei Hong didn't hear any action from the patrol team. Patrol team. Kui Lin flashed a sneer at the corner of his mouth. Do you think they will care? As long as the robbers don't make too much trouble, they don't care about our lives, and it's unknown whether there are any of them in the patrol team. That's right. Wei Hong sighed slightly and fell silent. Both of them lost interest in talking. Wei Hong said goodbye and walked towards the talisman workshop. He temporarily put aside the matter of the robbery gang, Blood Eagle. Anyway, he was ready not to leave the market for a few months, and then make plans based on the wind direction. Since it didn't affect him, he naturally had to continue living his life at his original pace. But Wei Hong still took it for granted. When he came to the talisman workshop, he found that the robbery incident had affected him after all. What? Say it again? Manager Wang was killed by the robbers? Is this news reliable? As soon as he entered the talisman workshop, Wei Hong heard a shocking bad news. He was in disbelief and asked Lu Feng who told him the news. It's true. Lu Feng also answered with a heavy face and a bitter smile. The news is absolutely true. Manager Wang went out for something yesterday, but he didn't expect to run into the hands of the robbers. As a result, he couldn't escape and was killed. It is said that he has fled to a place only 3 miles away from the market, but he was still caught up and killed on the spot. Lu Feng sighed slowly, not knowing whether it was because of the death of Manager Wang or because of something else. Wei Hong frowned, and after accepting this fact, he continued to ask, fellow Taoist Lu, since Manager Wang has died, who will be the manager of this talisman workshop? Are our treatment and basic tasks still the same as before? Wei Hong really didn't expect that Manager Wang would encounter such an accident. But this incident has already happened, so he needs to consider some changes that may occur after the replacement of the manager within the workshop. Treatment and basic tasks are the 2 issues he is most worried about. Just now he said that the robbery outside would not affect him, but who would have thought that he would not be able to escape this storm after all? Therefore, Wei Hong's mood suddenly became gloomy. At this time, LV Feng looked at him with a little surprise, and then said with a serious face, Friend Wei, you have asked the right question. I just want to talk to you about this issue. As far as I know, a new manager will be appointed soon in the workshop. I heard that this manager is very demanding, and I also heard that he wants to increase our basic task volume. The problem you are worried about is exactly what I am worried about. The talisman painters in the talisman workshop are all smart people. They naturally understand that a series of changes will inevitably occur after the change of power. These changes are very likely to be unfavorable to them, so changes are exactly what they least want to see. I hope the new manager will not be too harsh. Wei Hong sighed helplessly. He and LV Feng looked at each other and saw the worry in each other's eyes. After a while, someone came to inform them to go to the number 1 courtyard, saying that the manager summoned them. Let's go, friend LV, let's go and take a look. Wei Hong greeted and took the lead to walk towards the number 1 independent courtyard. Obviously, this should be the new manager to call them to a meeting and announce the change of power. LV Feng nodded with a heavy face, and followed Wei Hong to the independent courtyard number 1. After entering, they found that most of the talisman painters in the workshop had already arrived. In front of those talisman painters, an old man was lying leisurely on a large recliner with his eyes closed. The whole independent courtyard seemed to have fallen into silence because of this person, and no one dared to speak rashly. Wei Hong, who wanted to greet other talisman painters, immediately fell silent after seeing this scene, and stood behind him tacitly with LV Feng. After half an incense stick, more than 20 talisman painters in the talisman workshop had all arrived. The thin old man on the recliner happened to open his eyes at this time, and then slowly stood up from the recliner. My name is Yan Feng, and I'm the new manager of the workshop. The old man in brocade robes glanced at everyone with sharp eyes and said in a low voice, I called you here today to get acquainted with you and to talk about the rules for the future. From today on, the workload of each talisman painter will be doubled, which means that everyone must hand in 360 talismans every month. Also, the talisman output rate of all talisman painters must reach more than 45%. Those with less than 45% will be punished. Half of the wages will be confiscated in the first month, and all of the wages will be confiscated in the second month. If anyone still cannot increase the talisman output rate to 45% in the third month, then please get out of the talisman workshop. We don't need such trash in our talisman workshop. As soon as these words came out, the whole audience was in an uproar. What? The monthly task volume has doubled, and we have to hand in 360 talismans? Are you kidding me? What a joke. Will we still get commission after handing in 360 talismans? Manager Yan, who made this rule? This is exploiting us. Manager Yan, the talisman production rate of 45% is not something that can be achieved just by saying so. We have signed a spiritual contract with the talisman workshop. Who dares to ask us to get out? For a moment, the crowd was excited and all the talisman masters complained. Chapter 383, Exploitation, Everyone is in danger. The atmosphere suddenly became subtle. The new manager Yan Feng put his hands behind his back and looked at everyone expressionlessly. Opposite him, more than 20 talisman painters kept complaining, trying to resist the unreasonable rules set by the new manager. Even Wei Hong frowned after hearing the two rules. The task volume has doubled, and everyone is required to reach a 45% talisman production rate. It's really cruel. They want to exploit us in the name of the workshop. If these two rules are really implemented in the future, Wei Hong's monthly income will be reduced a lot. I can't save many spirit stones to begin with, and now I have to be exploited like this. When can I continue to buy elixirs to speed up my practice? Wei Hong sighed in his heart, but he remained calm on the surface. Because Wei Hong knew very well that since Yan Feng was the new manager, he dared to propose such a rule, which proved that he had obtained the approval of a higher level, otherwise he would never dare to mess around. The most important thing is that they are just small talisman painters recruited by the talisman workshop. It is completely impossible for them to compete with the talisman workshop. So resistance is absolutely useless, and it may even anger Yan Feng. As expected, Yan Feng's face became more and more gloomy when he saw the people who kept complaining. I don't know when, after seeing Yan Feng's ugly face, those complaining talisman painters began to shut their mouths belatedly. Haha, you are so angry. Yan Feng had a sneer on his lips, but his eyes were cold. Since you have so many opinions, how about, let you be the manager? There was silence at the scene, and no one dared to respond to this question. Be the manager? Are they qualified? More than 20 talisman painters gradually realized at this time that the rules could not be changed, and they were powerless to resist. Humph. After staring at everyone for a long time, Yan Feng coldly said, those who don't want to do it can get out now. From today on, my words are the rules of the talisman workshop. Those who don't follow the rules will get out. Everyone, go down. Without giving everyone a chance to speak, Yan Feng waved his hand and asked all the talisman painters to leave. Wei Hong and the others did not dare to say anything, and all of them left the number 1 independent courtyard with helpless expressions. As soon as they left the independent courtyard, the talisman painters could not help but complain. "Fellow Taoist Li, what's the big deal? We have to hand in 360 talismans a month, do we have any left?" "That's right, they are trying to squeeze us dry. Alice, we can't beat them, even if they want to squeeze us, what can we do? Forget it, let's go back and draw talismans." After complaining in a low voice for a while, these talisman painters knew that they could not change anything, so they slowly dispersed. Wei Hong did not participate in it, but looked at Lu Fang, and the two of them returned to the talisman drawing room silently. Along the way, Wei Hong also got some information about the new manager from Lu Fang. It is said that Yan Feng is the manager of the outer sect of Qingyuan sect, with a cultivation level of the 6th level of key training. After Manager Wang was killed by the robbers, he immediately applied to the sect to transfer to the talisman workshop to serve as the manager. After all, it was obvious how much money the talisman workshop made. After Yan Feng came to the talisman workshop, he not only changed the rules for the talisman drawing workshop, but also made requirements for the workload of each workstation in the talisman workshop, increasing it by at least 1 time. As a result, everyone naturally complained. But no one dared to resist, and everyone could only grit their teeth and accept it. The same was true for Wei Hong and Lu Fang, who had no ability to resist Yan Feng at all. After exchanging some ideas, the two of them went into the talisman drawing room. "Alice, it's a troubled time." Wei Hong sighed slightly. In the evening, Wei Hong returned to the rental house. As usual, the first thing Wei Hong did after returning to the rental house was to take out the spiritual rice and monster meat to stew. Washing rice, cooking rice, and stewing meat. Half an hour later, Wei Hong began to eat the fragrant spiritual rice and monster meat. When he felt a faint spiritual energy spreading from his body, he also silently operated a King Mu Ju to directly absorb and refine the spiritual energy contained in the spiritual rice and monster meat. After the 3rd level of key training, these first-grade inferior spiritual rice and monster meat can no longer meet my daily cultivation needs. If I change to first-grade medium-grade spiritual rice and monster meat, it will be better. But now I have a new manager, and after setting new rules, my income has dropped a lot. I can't afford first-grade medium-grade spiritual rice and monster meat. This life is getting harder and harder. Wei Hong sighed in his heart while eating, and at the same time he was confused about his current situation. He didn't know how to earn more spiritual stones next. After breaking through to the 3rd level of key training, the spiritual energy in his body naturally increased a lot, which also caused the lowest grade spiritual rice and monster meat to be far from meeting his cultivation needs. After all, the spiritual energy contained in the first-grade inferior spiritual rice and monster meat is still too little, unless you can eat 10 or 8 kilograms every day, but this is very unrealistic. Therefore, if Wei Hong wants to maintain the speed of cultivation, he must purchase higher-grade spiritual rice and monster meat. However, today the new manager just announced the new rules, so that his income was greatly affected, and it was reduced a lot every month. As a result, his idea of buying a higher level of spiritual rice and monster meat had to be put on hold for the time being. This also made Wei Hong's life more difficult. It is indeed easy to go from frugality to luxury, but difficult to go from luxury to frugality. After experiencing the cultivation speed brought by the Kingling pill, Wei Hong felt that the increase in spiritual rice and monster meat was far from meeting his own needs. This is like being used to flying with a magic sword, and suddenly switching back to walking on foot, which is a complete discomfort. However, Wei Hong's current situation made it impossible for him to take drugs casually like before. He now has neither enough spiritual stones nor other valuable resources and materials. If he wants to buy pills, he can only save money slowly. Thinking about it, Wei Hong couldn't help but sigh. It's really hard for casual cultivators without background to get along. It's really hard to stand out on this world of cultivation. In his cognition, it seems that the fate of casual cultivators has always been like this. If you live a better life, you will encounter various problems and hardships. You will either be targeted by robbers or oppressed by higher classes. In short, it is difficult to get ahead. If Wei Hong did not have the system, he might have struggled at the bottom like the majority of casual cultivators and never got rid of his life. Fortunately, Wei Hong has the system. Even if it is difficult now, he has never lost hope for the future. Chapter 384 When you are poor, you must change. When you change, you will succeed. It's time to think about other ways out. Wei Hong's mind began to change. Since the current situation is difficult and there is no way to earn more spirit stones in the talisman workshop, he naturally wants to change a way to make money. How about selling fireball talismans? It seems to be possible, but the success rate is not high enough, and the cost is too high. We need to find a way to reduce the cost. Alchemy? It's not feasible for the time being. First, I don't have the recipe, and second, I don't have the furnace, and I can't afford the materials for alchemy. What about refining tools? It doesn't seem to work either. Just like alchemy, I can't try it for the time being. It seems that none of them are very feasible. What should I do? Wei Hong's mind turned frantically, thinking about various ways. No matter whether it will work or not, he thought about everything he could think of. And the job of the talisman workshop, do you want to quit? The new manager was so harsh and wanted to squeeze them in various ways, which made Wei Hong want to quit. But Wei Hong thought about it for a long time and still couldn't make up his mind to quit. It's not a good idea to quit the talisman workshop right away. Although the current income has dropped a lot, the talisman workshop is still a way to get other talismans. Once you leave the talisman workshop, it won't be so easy to get more talismans. Let's continue working. The lower the income, the better. At least for now, working in the talisman workshop is still good. After all, Wei Hong still has some ideas about other talismans in the talisman workshop. It would be best if he could get them without spending too much money. If he wants to earn spirit stones, he has to think of other ways. As Wei Hong thought about it, he whispered to himself, "It seems that I still have to continue making leather and drawing talismans. I can't fall behind on either. I can sell half of the talisman skins I make and keep the other half. I can use the remaining half to draw talismans myself. It is inevitable to draw talismans and sell them privately, especially fireball talismans. The more the better. Once I have enough, I can go to the market to sell them. As for talisman skins and spiritual ink, I can also try to accumulate some from the talisman drawing room and bring them back to save my own talisman drawing costs. Then I can just complete the required basic tasks every month. Anyway, the commission is not much, so I might as well draw talismans and sell them myself." Thinking of this, Wei Hong's confusion was swept away, and he instantly became full of energy. As the saying goes, when you are poor, you must change, and when you change, you will get through. Since the situation is not good, it is the right way to actively find ways to change the status quo. After Wei Hong sorted out his thoughts, his plans for the future also became clear. Let me think about it. If I want to earn 2 to 3 bottles of Kingling in a month, how many talismans do I need to draw? Wei Hong began to calculate secretly in his heart. At present, the talisman workshop needs to hand in 360 talismans every month, which is equivalent to handing in all my original commissions. It also requires a talisman output rate of more than 45%. Although this is harsh, it is not a problem for me. After reaching the 3rd level of key training, I can draw talismans at least 30 times a day. Now my various talisman methods can achieve a talisman output rate of 55%. I can produce at least 16 talismans every day, which is 480 per month. After deducting the basic task volume, there are still 120 talismans left. These 120 talismans cannot be handed in, otherwise it will expose my true success rate of drawing talismans. If I go out and sell them privately, I might as well lower the price. According to the calculation that each first-level low-grade talisman is 80 broken spirits, 120 talismans are about 96 spirit stones. Every month, just intercepting a batch of talismans can bring in hundreds of spirit stones. This made Wei Hong more energetic. In addition, I can continue to draw fireball talismans after recovering some spiritual energy at night. Twice a night, although the success rate is only 25%, I should be able to draw 7 or 8 in a month. The price of a first-level medium-quality fireball talisman is 2 spirit stones plus 50 broken spirits, which means an income of about 20 spirit stones. Forget about leather making. It's enough to sell half to make back the cost, and keep the other half for drawing fireball talismans. After careful calculation, Wei Hong found that if he did it according to his current idea, he could earn at least 116 spirit stones every month. After deducting the expenses of 2 meals of spiritual rice and monster meat every day, as well as various food, drink, defecation and other expenses, he could probably still have about 30 to 40 spirit stones left in a month. A bottle of Kingling pill costs 30 spirit stones, which means that if I work hard to draw talismans, I can still afford a bottle of Kingling Pale in a month. Wei Hong became more and more excited as he thought about it. He didn't expect that changing a demanding manager would allow him to find a better way. In this way, he can afford not only pills, but also spirit rice and monster meat, and his cultivation speed will naturally increase a lot. As long as I improve my cultivation to the 4th level of key training, it will be much easier to draw fireball talismans, and then I can accumulate more spirit stones. There is motivation when there is hope. The most important thing is that this is not a fantasy future, but a real goal that can be achieved. However, just as Wei Hong was planning for the future, there was a knock on the door. Beep beep. Huh? Who would come to see me at this time? Wei Hong frowned slightly, seeming a little puzzled. After thinking about it, he stood up and walked towards the door. At the same time, his body was slightly tense, and his left hand, which was tucked into his sleeves, was pinching 2 fireball talismans. After walking to the door, Wei Hong gently opened it. Which fellow Taoist is here to visit? Wei Hong looked outside the door with a smile on his face. However, what he saw was somewhat unexpected. There was a beautiful female cultivator standing outside the door. She was slender, with skin as white as cream and eyebrows as black as distant black. She was extremely beautiful. She had a light makeup on her face, which seemed to be somewhat alluring. She was also wearing a red long skirt-style robe, a pair of exquisite white long boots, and several jade pendants of different shapes tied around her waist. Most importantly, this female cultivator exuded a faint and refreshing fragrance. Even at a distance of almost 10 feet, it went straight into Wei Hong's nose, as if the fragrance had consciousness. At first glance, Wei Hong's eyes lit up. When the beautiful female cultivator saw Wei Hong open the door, she immediately said with a smile, "Thank you for your courtesy, fellow Taoist. My name is Wen Menghun. What is your name? Please forgive me for disturbing you. I'm new here and just want to visit the neighbors around me so that we can take care of each other in the future." The beautiful female cultivator had a sincere smile on her face, and her bright eyes seemed to twinkle as she spoke, looking friendly and charming. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 385, Speak the Truth to People and Lies to Ghosts. Wei Hong stood by the door. In front of house number 30, the female cultivator named Wen Menghun seemed to be constantly showing goodwill to Wei Hong. If it were an ordinary cultivator, seeing Wen Menghun's behavior and beautiful and charming appearance, he might be fascinated and lost. But Wei Hong instantly smelled something unusual, but although he was secretly alert in his heart, his expression did not change at all. "Haha, don't bother me. Don't bother me, it turns out that it's fellow Taoist Wen in person." Wei Hong also greeted with a smile on his face. "I am Wei Hong, fellow Taoist Wen. Have you just moved in? I wonder which room you live in. We neighbors should really take care of each other. As the saying goes, speak to people in a human way and to ghosts in a ghost way." Without knowing the details of the person in front of him, Wei Hong naturally pretended to greet him first, at least not to offend him the first time they met. Wen Menghun also smiled and replied, "So it's fellow Taoist Wei. You are right. I just moved here the day before yesterday and live in room 38. Room 38? We are neighbors indeed. We should visit each other more often in the future," Wei Hong said politely. However, the female cultivator Wen Menghun seemed to take it seriously. She immediately covered her mouth and smiled, "Then I will have to bother fellow Taoist Wei more in the future." No, you are most welcome." "Since you are welcome, fellow Taoist Wei, why don't you invite me in to sit down? I came here specially to visit you today." Wen Menghun's eyes flickered slightly, and she took the opportunity to ask to go in and sit down. Wei Hong seemed to be stunned for a moment, and then he said a little embarrassedly, "Haha, sorry, I am not hospitable enough. Fellow Taoist Wen, please come in." As he said that, he opened the door completely and made an invitation. Wen Menghun was not polite at all and walked in. Wei Hong had no choice but to ask her to sit down and then poured her a cup of tea. After Wen Menghun sat down, she looked around casually. After scanning the room, she smiled and looked at Wei Hong. "I wonder how long has fellow Taoist Wei moved here?" Wei Hong seemed to have not noticed Wen Menghun's behavior at all. After sitting down opposite her, he replied, "Wei has only moved here for more than a year, But fellow Taoist, he and others next door have lived here for several years. Oh? I didn't expect that fellow Taoist Wei has lived here for more than a year. Fellow Taoist and others are really wealthy. Alice, if it weren't too dangerous outside, I wouldn't be willing to live here. 5 spirit stones a month, after paying the rent, I can hardly make ends meet. It's so hard for us casual cultivators. Taking advantage of this topic, Wen Meng'an suddenly began to talk intentionally or unintentionally. It was unclear whether she wanted to win Wei Hong's favor or to find a common topic. If it wasn't the first time they met, Wei Hong might have believed what she said. Alice, who says it's not true? After paying the rent every month, Wei has very little left. Wei Hong also complained. Wen Meng'an saw this and asked casually, is it the same for fellow Taoist Wei? By the way, I don't know where fellow Taoist Wei is from and where he makes a living. For casual cultivators, whether they join a hunting team or enter various workshops, they are indeed making a living. Wei Hong didn't understand why she suddenly asked this, and a trace of vigilance rose in his heart. He replied, Wei just became a cultivator by chance. Currently, I am doing some hard work in the talisman workshop and earning some hard-earned money. He did not tell her his origins, but perfunctorily said something to avoid the main point. Talisman workshop? Is fellow Taoist Wei a talisman painter? Wen Meng'an's eyes suddenly lit up. Haha, I don't dare to be a talisman painter. Wei is just a small talisman painter or apprentice. Wei Hong waved his hand very modestly. However, Wen Meng'an seemed to be very interested and asked, I heard that every talisman painter has a lot of wealth, and can earn a lot of spirit stones every month. Is that true, Brother Wei? How is it possible? This is all nonsense. I am just barely making ends meet. How can I have any wealth to speak of? Wei Hong shook his head. Ah, isn't that right? Brother Wei, are you being modest? A trace of doubt flashed across Wen Meng'an's face, and she continued to ask, by the way, since Brother Wei is a talisman painter, I wonder if you can draw first-level middle-grade talisman. Obviously, Wen Meng'an didn't believe that Wei Hong was just a small talisman painter or apprentice. Wei Hong narrowed his eyes slightly, and he was a little unsure of Wen Meng'an's intentions. Wen Meng'an had been looking at his residence since he entered the door, and at the same time, he kept asking about Wei Hong's income, family background and situation in his words, and seemed to be quite interested in these. Wei Hong didn't know what her intention was in asking about this, but he would not reveal a single word to such an unfamiliar person who seemed to have other intentions, and he became even more alert. He just smiled bitterly and said, Fellow Taoist Wen, don't joke. I can't even draw first-level low-grade talisman. How can I be qualified to draw first-level middle-grade talisman? Haha, fellow Taoist Wei is too modest. Wen Meng'an smiled slightly, but there seemed to be a flash of disappointment in her eyes, as if she didn't get the result she wanted. Wei Hong pretended to know nothing and just talked to her politely. After a while, Wen Meng'an looked around again, then said goodbye and left. Looking at her leaving back, Wei Hong frowned, not knowing what he was thinking. The next day, Wei Hong just went out to the talisman workshop and ran into He Yu, who was also going out. Fellow Taoist Wei, are you going to work? He Yu greeted Wei Hong immediately when he saw him going out. After Wei Hong moved in, he often visited several neighbors, so they were familiar with each other. Wei Hong smiled and replied, yes, Taoist he too. Haha, of course. He Yu smiled heartily, then suddenly took 2 steps closer and asked in a low voice, Taoist Wei, did a beautiful female cultivator named Wen Meng'an visit you yesterday? Huh? Wei Hong looked surprised and couldn't help looking at He Yu. Taoist He Yu also knew about this? But she also visited you. Hey, more than that, she has visited almost all the tenants in this Class C rental area. A sneer appeared on He Yu's face, as if he could see that Wen Meng'an's behavior obviously had other intentions. Have you visited them all? Wei Hong frowned slightly, and his vigilance towards Wen Meng'an deepened. He asked He Yu directly, does Brother He know anything? Why not tell me directly? Since all the tenants in the Class C rental area have been visited by Wen Meng'an, a female cultivator, it is obviously not as simple as visiting neighbors. There must be unusual intentions behind it. If he can get the answer from He Yu, it would be great. He Yu saw that Wei Hong had understood what he meant, so he looked around and reminded him in a low voice, Brother Wei, you'd better be careful. As far as I know, Wen Meng'an doesn't live alone, but lives with an old lover who is at the 5th level of key training. That person doesn't look like a good person. Brother Wei, it's better not to provoke him. Chapter 386 Extremely Cruel. 5th level of key training? Old lover. Not a good person. Two people living together. Every key information that he said made Wei Hong's eyelids jump. He really didn't expect that when Menghan, a female cultivator, was actually related to cultivator of the 5th level of key training. And from what he said, the cultivator of the 5th level of key training didn't seem to be a good person, otherwise he wouldn't have reminded him specifically. Various thoughts flashed through his mind, and Wei Hong bowed to He gratefully. Thank you for your reminder, fellow Taoist He. I know. Since when Menghan is a new resident and lives with a cultivator of the 5th level of key training, it proves that when Menghan is not a good person, otherwise he wouldn't visit people everywhere as soon as he moved in. There must be a conspiracy or ulterior motive that Wei Hong didn't know about. In short, before knowing the details, he should not provoke her casually, and it is best not to even have contact. Wei Hong secretly thanked He for his reminder, otherwise he would really be kept in the dark. He waved his hand and said, fellow Taoist Wei, you are too polite. It's enough for you to know about this matter. I won't say more for now. I have to go to work. Okay, take care, fellow Taoist He. Wei Hong said goodbye to He and walked towards the talisman workshop. As he walked, he secretly thought in his heart, when Menghan? Is this a real name or a pseudonym? She just moved in and she is visiting people everywhere. Is she really so enthusiastic? Or is this person trying to plot something? Or is she looking for someone? Does her confidence come from the 5th level key training cultivator she lives with? The details are unknown, the origin is unknown, and the intention is unknown. He is right. It is indeed not easy to provoke them casually. Besides, I have never thought of provoking them. Wei Hong shook his head, and at the same time, he was secretly glad that he did not reveal any information last night. He only said that he was a talisman painter in the talisman workshop, but everyone around him knew his identity. It was not difficult to find out, and there was no need to hide it. Alice, I hope I won't get dragged into any trouble. With such a feeling, Wei Hong began his day's work of drawing talismans. In the evening, Wei Hong left the talisman workshop on time, bought some spiritual rice and monster meat at the market, and then returned to his rented house. But just when he was about to return to his residence, the door of the 38th house in front of him suddenly opened. Wei Hong was slightly startled, and was about to walk past quickly. He remembered that when Menghan told him last night that she lived in the 38th house. If he had a choice, he didn't want to have any contact with Wen Menghan, a female cultivator. But at this time, a pretty and charming voice made him stop. Hey, Wei Dao. Wen Menghan, who had just opened the door, didn't expect to meet Wei Hong passing by, and subconsciously shouted. Haha, it turns out to be Wen Dao. Is Wen Dao going out? Since he couldn't avoid it, Wei Hong could only stop and say a few words in front of him. At this time, a middle-aged man followed Wen Menghan out. Seeing this person appear, Wei Hong's heart trembled, but he smiled and asked, Fellow Taoist Wen, who is this fellow Taoist? Excuse me, fellow Taoist Wei, this is my Taoist partner Zhao Cheng. When Menghan introduced each other, husband, this is fellow Taoist Wei Hong, who lives in house 30, is our neighbor, and is also a talisman painter in the talisman workshop. When Menghan seemed to be a little too detailed when introducing Wei Hong, and it was unknown whether she was deliberately speaking to Zhao Cheng or was referring to him. Oh? It turns out to be fellow Taoist Zhao, I'm sorry. Wei Hong's heart was pounding, but he smiled and greeted him. With just one look, this middle-aged man named Zhao Cheng made Wei Hong feel frightened. If he was not worried about attracting attention, he would have wanted to run away immediately. Because he found that Zhao Cheng had an extremely strong murderous aura on his body. Through the evil observing technique, he could clearly see that the invisible evil aura was constantly rolling around Zhao Cheng, which was extremely terrifying. At the same time, Zhao Cheng's body was faintly emitting a thick layer of blood. Wei Hong knew that this was definitely due to too much killing. Obviously, this cultivator named Zhao Cheng must have killed many people, otherwise the evil spirit and blood on his body would not be so thick, and most cultivators like to restrain their breath and pretend to be a pig to eat a tiger. Who knows if he is really at the 5th level of key training? In short, this person must be extremely vicious and should not be easily provoked. Wei Hong made a judgment in his heart. Zhao Cheng's mouth curved, and he looked at Wei Hong with a strange look. Oh? Fellow Taoist Wei is a talisman painter in the talisman workshop? It is Zhao who is disrespectful. Haha, Fellow Taoist Zhao is joking, I am just a small apprentice of talisman painting. Wei Hong was extremely humble, and at the same time he was extremely vigilant. Because he could clearly see that Zhao Cheng looked at him like he was looking at prey, full of greed and aggression. If it were not for the wrong occasion, Wei Hong even suspected that Zhao Cheng might directly attack him. This illusion was not something Wei Hong imagined, but Zhao Cheng's eyes gave him such a real feeling. Fortunately, Zhao Cheng didn't seem to have much interest in chatting with Wei Hong. After they greeted each other, they said goodbye and left, and Wei Hong returned to his rented house. Zhao Cheng? It's not his real name. But this person is really not simple. He has a very strong murderous aura. I absolutely don't believe that he doesn't have 100 or 80 lives in his hands. Fortunately, this person seems to have other plans and didn't pay much attention to me. I'd better try not to contact those two people recently. After returning to the rented house, Wei Hong slowly let down his guard, but deep in his heart he was still full of vigilance against Zhao Cheng and Wen Menghen. If he hadn't used the evil viewing technique to see the strong evil aura on Zhao Cheng, he really didn't know that Zhao Cheng was actually a slaughtering maniac. No matter who they are, it has nothing to do with me. As long as I am not involved, it's fine. Wei Hong shook his head and stopped thinking about Zhao Cheng and the others, and began to think about what he was going to do next. Everyone in the talisman workshop is tired and complaining now. I don't need to step up. I just need to complete the basic tasks. The rest is to use the free materials provided by the workshop to draw as many talismans as possible for myself, and then slowly accumulate them and sell them. As long as there are enough spirit stones, buy kindling pills first, so that the speed of cultivation can be increased. Wei Hong already has a very clear thread and plan in his mind for each step to take. As for Wen Menghen's new episodes, he naturally threw them out of his mind and didn't want to pay attention to them at all. He is now focused on drawing talismans and making money. Apart from making money, he doesn't want to care about anything else. Work hard on drawing talismans, don't rush the vitality points for now, making money is the first priority now. Wei Hong's eyes flashed with a determined light. Chapter 387, The Gathering of Random Talisman Masters. 1 month later on this day, Wei Hong specially finished work an hour early and left the talisman workshop. He hid in a secret corner where no one was around, disguised himself, and went straight to the market. After accumulating talismans for a month, Wei Hong naturally had to sell all the talismans he had accumulated to recover funds. He worked hard to draw talismans for a month, and he had accumulated 120 first-level low-grade talismans and 8 first-level medium-grade fireball talismans. Among the 120 first-level low-grade talismans, there were 50 wood-thorn talismans, 60 water shield talismans, and 10 cleaning talismans. If all these talismans are sold, there will be more than 100 spirit stones. After deducting various expenses, the remaining spirit stones should be able to buy a bottle of kindling pill. Wei Hong walked towards the market while calculating in his mind. This time, he disguised himself as a cultivator with an ordinary figure and appearance, and did not hide his cultivation. After arriving at the market, Wei Hong found an empty spot and spread a clean thick cloth on the ground, which was considered a stall. Then he took out a small stool and sat down, and finally placed all the talismans on the thick cloth one by one according to categories. The stall was set up and waited for customers to come. My fellow Taoist, how much do you sell your wood and thorn talismans for? Not long after, a young monk came to the front of the stall to ask for the price. Wei Hong looked up at him and said lightly, 90 broken spirits per piece, and if you buy more than 10 pieces at a time, you will get 80 broken spirits per piece. No bargaining. The price he gave was definitely much more favorable than the normal market price, and it would not be so low at ordinary times. It was mainly because Wei Hong wanted to sell all the talismans in his hands as soon as possible, and at the same time to lock in some old customers. As long as he made a name for himself, he would not be afraid that the talismans would fall into his hands with the advantages of good quality and low price. Anyway, the cost of drawing talismans is almost non-existent, so Wei Hong naturally minds making less money. Sure enough, the young monk's eyes lit up immediately when he heard the price, 80 broken souls per piece? Okay, give me 10. Such a low price is not easy to come by, so the young monk naturally would not let it go. Okay, here are 10 wood and thorn talismans, please take them, fellow Taoist. Wei Hong nodded in response, and then quickly counted out 10 wood and thorn talismans and prepared to hand them to the young monk. But when the young monk saw Wei Hong so straightforward, he suddenly hesitated and asked, "Fellow Taoist, your wooden thorn talismans are so cheap, is the quality okay?" Wei Hong had long anticipated that someone might ask this question, so he did not explain much, but kept the posture of handing over the talisman and gestured, "Fellow Taoist, you can check it yourself. If you think there is a problem, you don't have to buy it." Then I'm sorry. The young monk was not polite, and took the wooden thorn talisman and examined it carefully. After a moment, he nodded and smiled at Wei Hong, saying, "There is no problem with your wooden thorn talisman. Here are 8 spirit stones. Please take them. Take care, fellow Taoist." Wei Hong took the spirit stones and said goodbye politely. The first business was concluded. In the next hour or so, various talismans on Wei Hong's stall were bought one after another. Because the talismans he drew were not only of good quality, but also of good craftsmanship, and the price was low, the talismans on the stall were very popular. This also made Wei Hong in a good mood. After selling all the talismans, he would go to the treasure pavilion to buy a bottle of Kingling pill to increase his cultivation speed. A bottle of Kingling pill every month, plus the spiritual rice and monster meat alternately, Wei Hong's cultivation speed increased a lot. In the next 2 months, Wei Hong continued to work hard on drawing talismans and practicing every day. After accumulating for a month, he would go to the market to sell the talismans. This has been the case for the past 2 months. Today is his 3rd consecutive time to come to the market to sell talismans. After I got the Kingling pill, my cultivation speed has indeed increased a lot. If I keep it up, maybe I can break through to the 4th level of key training in more than a year. Wei Hong was leisurely setting up his stall while thinking about his cultivation over the past 2 months. It must be said that taking pills is different from not taking pills. If there were no Kingling pills, Wei Hong estimated that he would have to practice hard for at least 3 or 4 years to break through to the 4th level of key training. So he was barely satisfied with the income from being able to buy a bottle of Kingling pill every month. However, just when Wei Hong was about to close his stall, an old man came in front of his stall. This man was dressed in a gray robe, with gray hair, a thin face, and a 3-inch long white goatee. And this old man did not hide his 4th level of key training at all. The old man came to Wei Hong's stall with a kind smile on his face, squatted down and said with a smile, "My friend, your business is good. I envy you." Huh? Wei Hong narrowed his eyes and frowned subconsciously, then smiled and looked at the old man. This senior is joking. It's just a small business. How can it be worthy of envy? From the first sentence the old man said, Wei Hong guessed that this person was definitely not here to buy talismans. Although this person looks kind, Wei Hong has no idea about his background and does not know what he is going to do for the time being, so he naturally needs to be careful. "Hey, my friend is joking. Every time you set up a stall, you can get a lot of income. If this is still a small business, then others will be ashamed." The gray-robed old man smiled, but his words were meaningful. "What do you mean, senior?" Wei Hong frowned slightly and looked at the gray-robed old man with sharp eyes. Wei Hong knew what the gray-robed old man meant, which fully proved that the gray-robed old man had definitely investigated him, and it was even possible that he had been eyeing him for a long time, otherwise he would not have known his income so well. He immediately understood that the gray-robed old man's intention was definitely not simple, and he immediately became wary. "Hey, my name is Su Guan." The gray-robed old man introduced himself without any scruples, and then looked at Wei Hong and said, "As for the purpose of coming, it is actually very simple. I just want to invite fellow Taoists to join us. Who are you? What are the benefits of joining you?" Wei Hong's face was slightly cold, and he asked questions without any politeness. At this time, Wei Hong also felt a little strange in his heart. He had been setting up a stall for so long and had never encountered any problems. Who knew that he would suddenly encounter something today? The gray-robed old man smiled and said, We are of course the Association of Casual Practitioners. Joining our association means that everyone can make money together and get rich together. I am an old man, but I am also a talisman painter, and a first-class mid-grade talisman painter. It's not easy for us craftsmen to make a living these days. If you are willing to make friends with us, we will have someone to rely on in this market in the future, right? Chapter 388, Coercion and Inducement? A gathering of free cultivators talisman masters. Senior, are you also a talisman master? Upon hearing the gray-robed old man's intention, Wei Hong's face finally darkened. When the gray-robed old man Su Guan introduced himself as a talisman painter, Wei Hong finally understood his real intention and figured out the whole story. Obviously, he was targeted by some people after he first came to the market to sell talismans in large quantities 3 months ago. The reason is very simple, because the talismans sold by Wei Hong are not only well made, but also cheap, so every time he comes to set up a stall, his business is very good. After doing this again and again, it naturally attracted the attention of others. After all, Wei Hong can indeed sell hundreds of spirit stones every time he sets up a stall, and it is not difficult to find this out as long as you are willing to check. In this way, the huge income of hundreds of spirit stones is naturally a bit tempting. You know, many free cultivators work hard for a month and only earn a few spirit stones. Hundreds of spirit stones are enough to make some people take risks. Moreover, every time Wei Hong came to set up a stall, there would be several or even dozens of fireball talismans on the stall. What does this prove? It proves that Wei Hong can draw fireball talismans stably, otherwise there would not be so many fireball talismans every time he came to set up a stall. There are actually not many talisman painters who set up stalls to sell talismans freely in the market, and each of them is in a competitive relationship. Therefore, when other talisman painters who set up stalls learned that Wei Hong could draw fireball talismans stably, they naturally paid more attention to him. Among them, Su Guan and other people from the Association of Loose Cultivators of Talisman Masters were the most concerned. Many people wanted to get a piece of the pie, and even wanted to bite a piece of meat off Wei Hong. This is why Su Guan, the gray-robed old man, took action today. They obviously couldn't sit still and didn't want to wait any longer. Yes, I don't know what you think about it, Taoist friend. I am very sincere, and I hope you can think it over carefully. Su Guan still had a smiling look, but the last 4 words were obviously more emphasized. Oh? I wonder where your sincerity lies. Wei Hong seemed not to understand the meaning of Su Guan's words. Instead, he asked with interest, I wonder what benefits will come to me after joining the Association of Loose Cultivators and Talisman Masters that you are a part of. After understanding Su Guan's true intention, Wei Hong directly rejected the so-called Association of Loose Cultivators and Talisman Masters in his heart. He knew very well that the Association of Loose Cultivators and Talisman Masters said that they invited him to join, but in fact they wanted to share his profits. Such a crude method really made Wei Hong look down on it. But he couldn't defend the so-called Association of Loose Cultivators and Talisman Masters openly, so he could only test the waters first. However, he still underestimated Su Guan's shamelessness. He only heard him smile with a smug look on his face and said, Sincerity? It is the greatest sincerity that I can come here in person to invite you. You know that many people want to join our Association of Free-Spirited Talisman Masters but don't have the chance. As for the benefits, of course, we can make money together, and we can also exchange talisman experience with each other. This is much better than you working alone behind closed doors. Wei Hong was slightly stunned. He really didn't expect that this old guy Su Guan would be so shameless. Coming here in person to invite him is the greatest sincerity? Are you the leader of Qinghai sect or the Golden Car Master? How dare you say such a thing? The benefit is that we can make money together. Is it that we can make money together, or do you want to share the money I make? Wei Hong was a little powerless to complain in his heart. Su Guan not only said such flattering words, but also put on an expression of deep approval on his face. Wei Hong almost laughed out of anger. Oh, I really didn't realize that the senior was so sincere. But I'm afraid I'll disappoint you. I don't like everyone making money together. I only like to make money by myself. How much spiritual stones you can earn from the Association of Rogue Talisman Masters has nothing to do with me. I will never be jealous or envious. Wei Hong bluntly rejected Su Guan. And his words were full of sarcasm, implying that Su Guan and his people were jealous of him. Want to share his profits? No way. Damn it, seeing that there is profit, all kinds of monsters and demons have exploded, and they even call it giving me a chance. It's really shameless. Wei Hong cursed loudly in his heart. In order to earn more spiritual stones, to be able to buy a bottle of Kingling pill every month, and to speed up the speed of cultivation, he has tried everything. He worked hard to draw talismans every day. Apart from drawing talismans, there is almost nothing else to do, just to hope to save more spiritual stones every month. Who would have thought that after only selling talismans a few times, he would be targeted by someone, and even tried to share his skills? How could Wei Hong tolerate this? When the smiling old talisman master Su Guan heard that Wei Hong had directly rejected him, his face instantly darkened. Dao, you must think it through. Not everyone can join our association of casual practitioners of talismans. If you miss this opportunity, you will not be able to join in the future. Su Guan stared at Wei Hong with a gloomy face, as if he didn't want to pretend anymore. Wei Hong waved his hand and said, "Thank you for your kindness, senior. I don't think I am qualified to join your association of casual practitioners of talismans. Please go back and don't disturb me while I am doing business." Since Su Guan was no longer pretending, Wei Hong naturally didn't need to be polite to him anymore. Okay. Su Guan sneered angrily. Dao, have you really thought it through? Don't regret it. Regret? I never know what regret is. Wei Hong sneered. The two sides have torn their faces, and he will not let others threaten him. Good, very good. Su Guan was so angry that his face trembled slightly. He immediately pointed at Wei Hong and scolded, "You arbitrarily lowered the price of talismans, ignored market rules, disrupted the market order, and affected other people's business. You are simply courting death. If you still don't repent, you will see what will happen sooner or later. Since you don't care about other people's lives, then don't blame others for being cruel." After saying that, he glared at Wei Hong fiercely, and then left in anger. Obviously, Su Guan failed to invite Wei Hong, and he used threats and intimidation in anger. This is also the usual method and routine of the Sangxi Ufu Master Association. In order to achieve the goal, they will naturally use any means. Wei Hong was expressionless and silent. He didn't say anything more, but frowned and looked at Su Guan's leaving figure coldly. On the surface, he was still calm, but in fact, he was already extremely vigilant in his heart, and a string was directly tightened. Damn it, you want to use force when soft tactics don't work? You're a freelance talisman master, right? Su Guan, right? I'll remember you. Wei Hong felt helpless, but more of a coldness. He would never take the initiative to provoke others, but being provoked by others was not his intention. What's more, this time he was threatened in person by others, which made Wei Hong a little unbearable. Let's wait and see, we should be more careful recently. Chapter 389. The thief is still determined. Half an hour later, Wei Hong sold all the talismans and prepared to close the stall and go back. Since Su Guan and his people have been eyeing me, I must always be vigilant. Wei Hong reflected carefully in his heart. Fortunately, I never used my real face at the beginning. I always appeared in disguise. As long as I am careful, Su Guan and his people will never find out my true identity. Although he thought about it, his vigilance and alertness in his heart did not diminish at all. Since he already knew that he was being targeted, he naturally had to act more carefully. After closing the stall, he did not show any abnormality, but slowly walked towards the direction of the treasure pavilion with his things. You really don't give up. Before he walked far, Wei Hong felt that a gaze had been lingering on him. He sneered inwardly and walked on his own, pretending that he didn't notice it. After a while, he came to the door of the treasure pavilion and squeezed in through the gate where people came and went. With the help of the crowd blocking him, Wei Hong felt that the sight was blocked at once. He hurriedly asked a servant of the treasure pavilion about the location of the toilet, and then quickly walked to the back of the treasure pavilion. The servants of the treasure pavilion were already used to this situation. After all, most cultivators have not yet reached the stage of foundation building and fasting, so they still need to eat, drink, defecate and urinate like ordinary people. Wei Hong walked into the toilet quickly, and while quickly changing his appearance, he directly tore off the black robe covering his body. After taking off the black robe, he was wearing another set of blue brocade robe inside. In less than 10 breaths, he walked out of the toilet again. No one noticed that in just less than 10 breaths, Wei Hong changed from an ordinary-looking man to a handsome young cultivator. Coupled with a great-level breath-covering technique, it was really difficult for ordinary people to continue to track him. All the things in his hand were thrown into the storage bag, and then he changed into an exquisitely made folding fan. He walked out leisurely while gently shaking the fan, with a leisurely attitude. When he was about to reach the door, he found that a short middle-aged man came in from the door. He was looking around intentionally or unintentionally, as if he was looking for something, with a trace of confusion and anxiety on his face. Wei Hong sneered in his heart, and left the treasure pavilion without even looking at the man. He still had some experience in how to get rid of the tracker. Moreover, Wei Hong found a hidden corner again before returning to the rental house to change his appearance, and then returned to the rental house slowly. It does feel a bit uncomfortable to be targeted by someone. Although he got rid of the tracking, Wei Hong still felt a little resentful. He had never provoked anyone before, but now he was targeted because he wanted to make a little money. This also made him very depressed and indignant. But now he didn't know what the so-called organization of the Shanxi Ufushi Association was, so he could only suppress this depression temporarily. In the following period of time, Wei Hong would be extremely cautious every time he went out or went to any place. He knew that he had been targeted. Although Su Guan and others did not know his true identity yet, it was always right to be careful. Moreover, he would use the breath-retaining technique every day when he went out to restrain his own breath to the extreme. At the same time, he tried not to go to the market as much as possible. Even if he had to go, he would go after disguising himself. However, no matter how careful Wei Hong was, he found that he could not get rid of the tracker's sight. As long as he went to the market in disguise, it would not take long for someone to target him and follow him all the way. Even if he used the breath-retaining technique to the extreme, it still did not have much effect. He did not know where the problem was. Although he was careful again and again, the tracker was still able to track him. Fortunately, Wei Hong was extremely careful. Every time he realized that he was being followed, he used various means to get rid of the tracking. Are they the scattered cultivators of the Talisman Masters? It seems that they really want to find me, thinking that they can force me to surrender by such means. Wei Hong's eyes flashed with cold light, and he had begun to be fierce in his heart. He could still use various means to get rid of the tracker before, but it would be difficult to guarantee after too many times. Besides, in this world, there is only a thief who can do thieves for 1,000 days, but how can you guard against thieves for 1,000 days? He could defend for 1 or 10 days, but he couldn't defend himself forever. Following this trend, he would be exposed one day. In order to prevent this consequence from happening, Wei Hong had to think of a way. It seems that if I don't solve the problem of the Loose Practitioner Talisman Master Association, I can't continue to sell talismans in the market to make money. Wei Hong frowned and thought secretly, first find someone to find out what the Loose Practitioner Talisman Master Association is. If it doesn't work, I can only solve it myself. Instead of waiting for others to find him passively, it is better to take the initiative to solve the problem. This has always been Wei Hong's creed and code of conduct. Since others have affected his development, he doesn't mind making all those people disappear. Of course, this is based on the premise that he has the strength. If the trouble he encountered cannot be solved for the time being, Wei Hong will naturally not force it. Now Wei Hong only needs to find out what the so-called Loose Practitioner Talisman Master Association is or what the details are, and then he can make a choice. From the next day, Wei Hong no longer went to the market. Every day he rented a house and went between the talisman workshop. Then, when he stayed in the talisman making workshop, he would secretly ask several familiar talisman painters about the affairs of the Loose Cultivator Talisman Master Association. Wei Hong guessed that he was definitely not the first person to encounter such a situation. There were more than 20 talisman painters in the talisman making workshop, and each of them would secretly intercept a part of the talismans. Even if only half of them sold the intercepted talismans, at least a few of them would be targeted by the Loose Cultivator Talisman Master Association. As long as they were targeted by the Loose Cultivator Talisman Master Association, Wei Hong believed that those talisman masters would definitely take different countermeasures. In this way, they should know more or less about the Loose Cultivator Talisman Master Association. Sure enough, after his open and covert inquiries, Wei Hong finally figured out what kind of organization the so-called Loose Cultivator Talisman Master Association was. It's just a small organization with only 7 or 8 people who keep each other together for warmth. After receiving this information, Wei Hong couldn't help but be a little surprised and said, "They are all old talisman masters like Su Guan. They have no hope of being promoted to the first-class upper-grade talisman master in their lifetime, so they just keep each other together for warmth, and then unite to exploit the newcomers. Oh, I thought Su Guan was a big shot, but I didn't expect him to be nothing." After finding out all the details of the Loose Cultivator Talisman Master Association, Wei Hong breathed a sigh of relief. His originally tense heartstrings slowly relaxed. This trouble, perhaps he can solve it himself. Since the Loose Cultivator Talisman Master Association has no background and no great origin, he naturally doesn't need to be afraid of it at all. Chapter 390, A Despicable Person. What a loose cultivator talisman master association, they really treat me as a soft persimmon. Wei Hong exhaled slowly. Before he figured out the situation, he had to be careful all the time because of Su Guan's threats. He was even a little worried that the loose cultivator talisman master association might be a huge organization. Who would have thought that the so-called loose cultivator talisman master association was just a small organization gathered by 7 or 8 old talisman masters? In this way, the pressure faced by Wei Hong was greatly reduced. At the same time, in the process of inquiring about the loose cultivator talisman master association, he also got some other relevant information. According to other talisman masters, the truly powerful talisman masters have their own unique ways to make money and unique talisman methods. The truly powerful talisman masters simply disdain to associate with a mob of Su Guan, and will not bully newcomers. The old talisman masters of the loose cultivator talisman master association of Su Guan just relied on the fact that the newcomers did not know their details, and relied on bragging and intimidation to achieve their goals. This is also their usual means and routine. Naturally, I was always successful in the past, but this time I didn't expect to run into a tough guy like Wei Hong. Since they want to trouble me, don't blame me for taking the initiative. After figuring out the reason, Wei Hong began to think about the counterattack plan. He has never been a passive person. Since he has figured out the details of the other party, he naturally has to choose to take the initiative. Only in this way can the trouble be completely solved. Now they are watching very closely. I can't appear in the market for a short time. Wei Hong's thoughts turn quickly. Then I will accumulate the talismans first, and then focus on drawing the fireball talisman. The fireball talisman is the most powerful talisman I have at present. As long as there are enough of them, I am afraid that even a cultivator in the late stage of key training will definitely not feel good if I use it unexpectedly, and even suffer serious injuries. I want to see if those old guys can bear it. With 2 months less of spiritual stones, I want to let them know how powerful I am. In order to solve the troubles and threats brought by Su Guan and others, Wei Hong decided to spend a lot of money this time. After thinking about the plan many times in his mind, he really decided on it and began to prepare for it. The next 2 months, Wei Hong has been living between the talisman workshop and the rented house, and has never been to any other place. For this reason, he finally got rid of the tracking of the loose cultivator talisman master association temporarily. He specially accumulated talismans for 2 months. He did not go out to set up a stall to sell talismans for 2 consecutive months, just to create an illusion that he had disappeared to Su Guan and others. During these 2 months, Wei Hong began to slowly shift the focus of talisman drawing to the fireball talisman and the wood thorn talisman. Moreover, he also exchanged most of the spiritual stones in his hand for animal skins, and made a large number of talisman skins for drawing talismans. In addition to completing the basic tasks, he mainly drew fireball talismans and wood thorn talismans, whether in the talisman drawing room or in the rented house. After 2 months, Wei Hong accumulated more than 100 wood thorn talismans and more than 30 fireball talismans. Because the number of times he drew the fireball talisman increased, the number of wood thorn talismans decreased a lot. It should be almost time. I haven't opened the stall for 2 months. I guess Su Guan and others are a little anxious, right? Wei Hong suddenly thought with some evil taste. I wonder how they will react to if they know that I appear again. This time, I hope I can solve the trouble. Wei Hong left the rented house and found a hidden corner to disguise himself as the ordinary-looking young man before. Then he carried a thick cloth and a small stool in his hand and slowly went to the market. The reason why he took the initiative to open the stall this time was to lure out the people from the loose cultivator talisman master association. Sure enough, not long after he arrived at the market and set up the stall, the long-lost weak sense of being watched once again enveloped Wei Hong. Oh, it's really here. Wei Hong's mouth curled up slightly. And this time the sense of being watched became stronger and stronger, so strong that it seemed a little unscrupulous. I don't know if it was because Wei Hong disappeared for 2 months. Su Guan and others were afraid that he would disappear again, so they prepared to take some tough measures. Such obvious and unscrupulous peeping naturally could not go unnoticed. Wei Hong pretended to change his expression, as if he noticed something. He seemed to stand up in a panic and looked around, then he gritted his teeth and hurriedly packed up his stall. He pretended to be in a hurry and afraid of being followed, and he packed up his stall and left the market. Come on, don't lose me. Wei Hong hurriedly walked away, but sneered in his heart. He was sure that although the sense of being watched was very strong, there was indeed only one person following him, which gave him enough room to operate. After leaving the market, he began to go into the alley. He ran quickly in the alley, turning around, as if trying his best to get rid of the follower behind him. However, the short and thin middle-aged man following Wei Hong sneered after seeing Wei Hong's actions. You dare to show up again, then I can't let you run away this time. This man's name is Qi Yi, a scumbag in the market who specializes in doing all kinds of things that are not presentable. More than 4 months ago, he received a task, which was to keep an eye on a monk who sold talismans. After asking around, Qi Yi learned that the monk who sold talismans was named Lian Chang's. He didn't know that Lian Chang's was just one of Wei Hong's many aliases. After receiving the task, he started to keep an eye on Lian Chang's more than 4 months ago. He found that Lian Chang's stall was very regular, and he set up a stall once a month. But every time he set up a stall, he could sell hundreds of spirit stones. After discovering this, Qi Yi's mind became active. That's hundreds of spirit stones, and he only got 10 spirit stones for the task of stalking. At that time, Qi Yi thought to himself that if he robbed Lian Chang's, he might be able to make a huge fortune. But Qi Yi didn't dare to act easily in the market. In addition, Lian Chang's also had the strength of the 3rd level of Qi training, so he didn't dare to act rashly. Until 3 months ago, Qi Yi found that Lian Chang's seemed to have noticed something, so that his subsequent tracking was actually thrown off by Lian Chang's using various means many times. This made Qi Yi start to get a little anxious. When he was about to take some other measures, he didn't expect that Lian Chang's had disappeared for 2 months. After Qi Yi found out about this, he beat his chest and stamped his feet. He was worried that he could not complete the task, and he secretly hated himself for letting such a large sum of money go. Fortunately, he did not give up. He insisted on hanging around in the market for more than 2 months, and finally found Lian Chang's again today. Don't think about disappearing again, kid, I will never let you run away again. Qi Yi sneered repeatedly and quickly chased after Lian Chang's back. Qi Yi is not stupid. How can the task reward of a mere 10 spirit stones be compared with a windfall of hundreds or even tens of thousands of spirit stones? Chapter 391, Kill with One Strike. A mere 3rd level Qi training, who gave him the courage? Sensing the breath of the pursuer behind him approaching quickly, Wei Hong curled his lips and sneered. The pursuer seemed to have no intention of concealing his cultivation level, and his 3rd level Qi training level was exposed. However, Wei Hong himself used the breath-retaining technique to the extreme, and his breath and cultivation were completely restrained. If it weren't for the pursuit behind him, Wei Hong would have thrown him off long ago. Wei Hong seemed to be running in a hurry, but in fact he was always paying attention to the movement behind him. He deliberately made sure that his back did not leave the pursuer's sight. Sure enough, the pursuer began to approach quickly after Wei Hong turned into a hidden alley with no one. Wei Hong secretly glanced back and found that the target was approaching quickly. So he turned abruptly and entered a blind spot. Want to run? Qi Yi saw Wei Hong suddenly out of his sight, and his face changed immediately. Then he gently patted his calf with his right hand, and a magic talisman was added to his body. With the help of the magic talisman, Qi Yi chased in the direction where Wei Hong disappeared at a rapid speed. Of course, people in their line of work would never be careless. While chasing, Qi Yi held a diamond talisman in his left hand and took out a flying sword in his right hand, which can be said to be both offensive and defensive. They are all cultivators in the Qi training period. Before they have cultivated their spiritual consciousness, they can only rely on breath or sight to track. However, Wei Hong has already performed the breath-retaining technique to the extreme. When he turned into the alley and disappeared from sight, Qi Yi temporarily lost track of Wei Hong's figure. Don't struggle, you can't run away. Qi Yi was not worried at all. Instead, because of the illusion that Wei Hong was running away, he had the illusion that the target's strength was not as good as his. I can catch up with you after turning the corner ahead. Qi Yi was very fast, and he even imagined Wei Hong's horrified reaction when he saw him catching up quickly. However, he didn't know that Wei Hong was also waiting for him to come to him. After turning the right angle and disappearing from the pursuer's sight, Wei Hong mobilized the spiritual energy in his body while making hand gestures quickly. He turned around suddenly. He did not run forward as Qi Yi expected, but waited quietly with a blank expression. In less than 3 breaths, As he expected, the pursuer accelerated and caught up. After sensing the obvious movement of the pursuer, Wei Hong no longer hesitated, and the spiritual energy in his body surged out. "Go!" Wei Hong shouted in a low voice. He made hand gestures and pointed forward, and the spiritual energy of heaven and earth suddenly fluctuated. Qi Yi, who was chasing him madly, was a little confused for a moment. After turning the corner, he not only did not see Wei Hong's fleeing back, but was about to hide a wooden wall covered with thorns. "Wooden wall technique!" Qi Yi exclaimed, recognizing the spell cast by Wei Hong at a glance. His reaction was not slow at all. When he realized that the target did not really escape but was preparing to ambush him, his left hand immediately shook, and under the urging of spiritual energy, a yellow circular cover immediately enveloped him. At the same time, his right hand holding the flying sword slashed forward fiercely, preparing to split the wooden wall in front of him. Bang! But he completely underestimated the wooden wall that Wei Hong had cast. Qi Yi, who was unable to slow down, ran straight into it. After a loud bang, the circular cover transformed by the Vajra talisman was pierced by the sharp thorns wrapped around the wooden wall, and it seemed to be about to break. Moreover, the flying sword held in Qi Yi's right hand only penetrated 3 points into the wood, but could not destroy the wooden wall at all. What? Qi Yi's face changed drastically. But before he could react, 4 5-foot-long wooden spikes with pointed heads and thick tails suddenly appeared above Qi Yi's head, behind him, and on both sides. This time, all of Qi Yi's retreat routes were completely blocked. Puff! The 4 wooden spikes stabbed Qi Yi fiercely at the same time. The wood thorn technique of the Great Perfection Realm. Ah! Qi Yi screamed in fear, with a look of extreme horror on his face. At the same time, his left hand reached into his bosom, as if he wanted to take out something. But the 4 wooden thorns did not give him any time to respond. No. Puff! While the 4 5-foot-long wooden thorns pierced through the shaky round cover, they also pierced Qi Yi's body directly. The 4 bowl-sized blood holes almost cut Qi Yi into several pieces, and blood splattered everywhere. The power of the wood thorn technique of the Great Perfection Realm was so terrifying that Qi Yi, who was also at the 3rd level of Qi training, was pierced through the body without even the strength to fight back. Of course, this was also because Wei Hong took the initiative and played a key role. The whole process seemed to be very long, but from Wei Hong's actual wooden wall technique to Qi Yi's death, it only happened within a short 3 breaths. Almost in the blink of an eye, Wei Hong completed a single blow to kill Qi Yi. Do you really think I'm a soft person? Looking at Qi Yi's broken body, Wei Hong had no expression on his face. He immediately removed all his spells, went forward and looted all the items on Qi Yi, then turned and went into another alley, hiding his figure and escaping quickly, not daring to stay for a moment. Less than 10 breaths after Wei Hong left, a whole patrol team rushed into the alley where Qi Yi died. If Wei Hong had not made a prompt decision and left quickly, he might have been blocked. He knew very well that a private fight in the market would definitely be noticed by the patrol team. Because the fluctuations of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth cannot be concealed, and there must be more than one monitoring magic weapon in the Qingayan Mountain market, Wei Hong must leave as quickly as possible after taking action, otherwise he will definitely run into the hands of the patrol team. Fortunately, Wei Hong had made a decision long ago and had a comprehensive plan before killing. Only then was he able to escape and was not caught on the spot. Soon, more than a dozen patrol monks surrounded the entire alley. All kinds of magic weapons and spells were ready to be used at any time to deal with possible unexpected situations. As the patrol leader, Lin Zai had a serious and alert expression on his face, and slowly walked to the front of Qi Yi's body. He did not mean to squat down to check the body, but carefully sensed the traces of magic in the air. After a moment, he relaxed and said to himself, "It is a low-grade wooden wall and wooden thorn spell of the 1st order. At least it is the power of the magic of the Great Success Realm, otherwise it is impossible to kill a cultivator of the 3rd level of Qi training with just 2 spells. And it was a cultivator who cast a Vajra talisman. Haha, he is very brave, daring to do it in the market, and running fast." As a cultivator of the late stage of Qi training, Lin Zai naturally saw what happened at the murder scene at a glance. At the same time, he also analyzed the realm of Wei Hong's 2 spells based on the power of the magic. Now the murderer has escaped, and it was a conflict between 2 low-level cultivators, which did not affect the normal operation of the market. The patrol team was actually too lazy to track down the death of a person. Tell someone to clean it up, and the rest of you continue patrolling." Lindsay didn't even look at the body again. After giving the order, he waved his hand and led the patrol team out of the alley. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 392, One Strike and Escape. That night, at the first hour of the night, Wei Hong quietly left the rental house. The market looked a little darker than during the day, and there were fewer people outside. Therefore, Wei Hong easily found a hidden corner and disguised himself as Qi Yi. He didn't know the name Qi Yi, but he knew that this pursuer was definitely someone invited by the Sangxi Ufushi Association. Disguising himself as a pursuer would make it much easier to approach Su Guan and other people from the Sangxi Ufushi Association. At least it wouldn't arouse any suspicion from Su Guan and others at the beginning, which gave Wei Hong the opportunity to take action. After making preparations, Wei Hong quietly moved towards the Class B rental area. When he inquired about the details of the Sangxi Ufushi Association some time ago, he had learned that several old Fushi masters from the Sangxi Ufushi Association often gathered in a small courtyard in the Class B rental area. Wei Hong actually didn't know if they would be there tonight, so he was going to try his luck. Killing the pursuer was just a small episode, and Wei Hong didn't want to be watched. If he wanted to solve the real trouble, Su Guan and others were the source. Only by dealing with Su Guan and others, the so-called loose cultivators will stop targeting him. In this way, he can continue to set up stalls in the market to sell talismans and earn more spirit stones. I hope they are all here tonight, so I don't have to go to their houses one by one. Wei Hong's eyes flashed a cold light in the dark night. Along the way, he avoided all patrol teams and the sight of others as much as possible. Not only did he walk through various hidden alleys, but he also used the breath-holding technique to the extreme. Soon, he arrived at his destination, the 9th courtyard in the Class B rental area. After confirming the house number, Wei Hong looked around and walked over gently. Before he walked over, he saw that the courtyard was brightly lit and there were a few figures. It seems that I'm lucky. Even if not all of them are here, at least 5 or 6 are here. Wei Hong was certain in his heart, knowing that he didn't have to make a wasted trip tonight. Beep. He stepped forward and knocked gently on the gate of the courtyard. After a while, the gate of the courtyard opened from the inside to the outside. Who is this? The figure of the old man Su Guan stood out from behind the door. Wei Hong imitated Qi Yi's voice and said, "It's me." "Hey, Qi Yi. Why is it you?" Su Guan was a little surprised, but the alertness on his face disappeared the moment he saw Qi Yi. Obviously, he was very familiar with Su Guan, the man he hired personally. Wei Hong replied in a low voice, "I have a clue about that matter. Come in and tell me." Su Guan didn't think too much about it, and turned around and walked in. He thought that Qi Yi had found out the true identity of the talisman master, so he naturally let Wei Hong in first. Seeing Su Guan use the token to open the outer warning magic circle, Wei Hong secretly breathed a sigh of relief. He successfully deceived Su Guan and entered the small courtyard without much effort. As soon as he entered, Wei Hong saw 6 old men with different looks gathered in the small courtyard. At this time, these old men were gathered around a round table, and they all looked over when they saw Su Guan bringing people in. Including Su Guan, there are exactly 7 people. Wei Hong collected the number of people with a glance. This was basically consistent with what he had inquired about. Several old talisman masters from the Association of Loose Cultivators were basically here. Such a good opportunity, he actually ran into it. Wei Hong himself couldn't help but secretly sigh at his luck in his heart. When Su Guan entered the courtyard, before anyone else asked, he casually said, "Qi Kid is here. He made a trip today and may have gained something." Oh. The other 6 old talisman masters became interested when they heard this. They looked over casually and stopped talking about the topic of talismans. One of them frowned and said, "What did you find out? It's just a small minion. You can't handle it, right? If it doesn't work, just find someone to clean it up according to the old rules. Why do you have to ask us?" Faced with the doubts, Wei Hong did not answer. He just suddenly showed them an ambiguous smile. "Want to know? Then go down and ask Qi Yi." As soon as the voice fell, he took out more than 30 fireball talismans from his arms and threw them all out. And at the moment when he threw the fireball talisman, he activated all the fireball talismans with his spiritual energy. Before Su Guan and others could react, Wei Hong immediately kicked his feet and turned around, smashing through the door, and then used the breath-retaining technique to the extreme, and immediately hid his body and fled quickly and quietly. He didn't even have the interest to take a look at the result. He used a strike and fled immediately. Both decisive and straightforward. It can be said that from Wei Hong throwing the fireball talisman to him quietly escaping, it seemed to happen in a short blink of an eye. This sudden change made Su Guan and others seem to be stunned for a moment. When Wei Hong's figure fled far away, Su Guan and others who reacted a little slower changed their faces. Because dozens of huge fireballs had appeared out of thin air and smashed towards them. For a while, the whole room was filled with a breath of heat, burning, and destruction. Oh no! Be careful! The 7 old talisman masters only had time to exclaim, and there was no way to avoid it. At the same time, in panic, several people also reacted differently. Su Guan, who was the first to be hit, had a desperate and crazy look in his eyes, and his teeth were almost broken. He had no time to dodge, and he only had time to take out a few talismans and slap them on himself. The 6 old talisman masters behind him were a few steps away, and they all had horror on their faces. Some people activated defensive talismans to block the power of the fireball talisman. Some people took out defensive magic tools and injected all their spiritual energy into them with a pale face. Some people kicked their feet to avoid a bombardment of the fireball talisman. Others threw a lot of talismans at the fireball talisman like they didn't need any money, trying to offset the terrifying power of the fireball talisman. The 7 old talisman masters used their own methods, and their desire to survive reached its peak at this moment. At this moment, any emotions and thoughts were thrown behind them. Only by surviving can they have the opportunity to consider other things. The next moment, dozens of huge fireballs fell down. Bang bang bang. Rumble. The huge explosion instantly resounded throughout the Qingyuan Mountain Market. The Class B rental area was also shaken a few times. Waves of scorching air immediately spread out with the explosion. Hot and dazzling flames shot up into the sky, instantly illuminating most of the market. The courtyard where Su Guan and others were located was flattened to the ground as soon as the fireball talisman fell. The figures of the 7 old talisman masters, including Su Guan, were instantly enveloped by the flames and air waves, and it was impossible for them to escape. No. Several earth-shaking screams came from the center of the fire. It directly alarmed the entire market. Chapter 393, Flames shot up to the sky. The market was in a turmoil. The screams and the rumbling noises like an earthquake that came from the Class B rental area instantly made the entire Qingyuan Mountain Market a turmoil. The patrol teams scattered in various directions of the market suddenly changed their faces when they saw the flames rising into the sky. What happened? Where did the explosion come from? Quick, go and have a look. Several patrol teams led by Patrol Captain Lin Zai quickly surrounded the Class B rental area, with angry and solemn faces. They could never have imagined that someone would dare to fight privately in the market. And they made such a big noise, which was simply not taking Qingyuan sect and their patrol team seriously. Lock every suspicious person along the way, and then seal off the scene. Lin Zai shouted with a sullen face. At the same time, the cultivators in the entire market were also in an uproar. What's going on? What happened? Where did the explosion come from? What's with the fire? Who is so bold as to fight in the market? Or is there a demon beast attacking the market? Quick, go and see what happened. How dare someone fight in the market? Almost all the monks living in the market were shocked, and then they looked at the flames from far or near and talked about it. In an instant, the entire Qingyuan Mountain Market was in a boiling state. Under the noise, all kinds of curiosity also rose. Some monks who were too curious or liked to watch the excitement rushed to the scene to see what happened. On the contrary, those monks who were well versed in self-protection did not approach without permission. They stood there with solemn faces. Because they knew very well that if such a bad and unconcealed private fight happened in the market, neither the patrol team nor the Qingyuan sect would let the two parties go, and they would search in anger. If it was not a private fight but revenge, the nature would be even more serious. The patrol team will never give up. In this way, those monks who are close to the scene will become suspects in the eyes of the patrol team. Once they are targeted by the patrol team, it will not be so easy to get away. So at this moment, some people in the market are watching coldly, and some people want to get close to watch the excitement. The originally calm and stable market suddenly became chaotic. Lindsay had a blank expression on his face and quickly rushed to the explosion site. Immediately blocked the scene, prepared to put out the fire, and search the scene. Lindsay stood with his hands behind his back, looked up at the figures around him who wanted to get close, and said coldly, "Immediately disperse all the people around, and kill anyone who approaches again. At the same time, record all the monks who appear around the Class B rental area within half an hour. The patrol team is not a group of good men and women. If there are really people who are not afraid of death and want to come and take a look, they naturally don't mind killing a few to set an example, and by the way, teach those monks who like to watch the excitement a lesson." Yes. The other patrol members responded immediately. More than a dozen patrol members cast water spells, and soon all the fire caused by the explosion of the fireball talisman was extinguished. At the same time, several patrol members held standard magic tools and dispersed in 4 directions. Waves of spiritual energy began to provoke but not to be released, completely intimidating those monks who wanted to approach. As a result, the monks who came from all directions immediately stopped with embarrassed faces. After extinguishing the fire on the other side, more than a dozen patrol members walked into the small courtyard and began to search. A moment later, a patrolman came to report, "Captain, 5 people died inside, 2 were seriously injured and unconscious, and the dead ones were burned to charcoal, and nothing can be seen. The explosion and the fire are the result of dozens of fireball talismans used together. Besides this, there is no other smell left. It should be that someone activated dozens of fireball talismans to attack the people in this yard. Also, there are no other suspicious traces left at the scene. It may be difficult to find, unless you ask a high-level cultivator who is good at tracking from the outer sect to help." Lindsay looked at the patrolman coldly. "Difficult to find? This person is so presumptuous that he doesn't take us seriously at all. It's not easy to find, but we have to find it, even if it's not easy to find, and we have to dig 3 feet into the ground to find it, until we find it." Lindsay knew very well that if he couldn't find the attacker, he would not only be punished, but also be laughed at by other cultivators, saying that their patrol team was useless. Thinking of others laughing at him in secret, Lindsay became more and more angry. "Yes, Captain." The patrolman didn't dare to neglect and hurriedly agreed. Lindsay looked at the yard that had been leveled, frowned and asked, "Wait, who are those people in this yard? What are their identities? Do they have any enemies? Check all these carefully. The people from the rental pavilion just sent a piece of information." The patrolman replied immediately, "According to the rental information, the person who rented this yard is a casual cultivator named Su Guan. His cultivation is not high, only in the middle stage of key training, but he is a talisman painter. And Su Guan is also a member of the Casual Cultivator Talisman Master Association. The people who appeared here tonight should also be members of the Casual Cultivator Talisman Master Association. As for the enemies, this needs to be checked further. It has to be said that the patrol team is really efficient. It didn't take long for them to figure out the identities of Su Guan and others. The Loose Cultivator Talisman Master Association? Is it them?" Lindsay frowned, and then ordered, "Investigate the other people as well, and focus on their enemies or people who have had conflicts recently. Also, gather people, and thoroughly investigate the market tonight, and arrest all suspects." In order to find the attacker, Lindsay put in a lot of effort. "Captain, the Loose Cultivator Talisman Master Association is just a small organization created by Su Guan and his friends, and it has no background." The patrol member first explained, and then solemnly accepted the order and said, "I will arrange it immediately." For a while, all the patrol members in the entire market started to move. In anger, they began to search frantically in the market, trying to find the attacker as quickly as possible. At the same time, all the monks who appeared around the Class B rental area before and after the incident were questioned by the patrol team, and if they found anything suspicious, they would be arrested first. There were also clues about the possible enemies of Su Guan and his friends, and people who had conflicts with them recently. None of these clues were left out and were checked one by one. The 2 seriously injured and unconscious old talisman masters were quickly sent away for treatment. After all, they were the only 2 survivors. Maybe when they wake up, they can get more clues and information from them. In this way, all patrol teams began to search all night. As a result, the entire Kingayan Mountain Market was not quiet all night, and all kinds of secret discussions never stopped. Chapter 394 There will always be brave men when there is a big reward. The next day, the patrol team searched all night until dawn, and then they stopped temporarily. After searching all night, the patrol team did not find anything useful. Many sneaky suspects were arrested, but none of them were related to the attacker who launched the fireball talisman. No one saw the attacker's figure and face that night, which made Lin Zai's face become more and more ugly. The longer this matter drags on, the worse the face of their patrol team will be. For this reason, after a short breath, Lin Zai ordered to continue the search again, as if he was determined to find the attacker and kill him in public. In order to expand the search direction, Lin Zai also ordered people to start with a clue of the fireball talisman. For example, who in the market can draw the fireball talisman? For example, who has recently purchased a large number of fireball talismans from the market or the treasure pavilion? These are all directions that can be searched. As long as the clues are found and followed, Lin Zai believes that the attacker will definitely be exposed. He is very confident about this. Unfortunately, no one knows that Wei Hong always changes his vest when selling talismans. Otherwise, they might be tracked down by the patrol team and be completely exposed. In addition, they did not give up on investigating Su Guan and others' interpersonal relationships and recent actions. For a time, the patrol team's actions also caused rumors to spread in the market. Beixiang Tower. The lobby on the first floor. Have you heard about what happened last night? A somewhat wretched-looking man at a table by the window on the right whispered, I heard that someone had a big fight in the market town, and it was so intense. Sand and rocks were flying, flames shot up to the sky, and the earth shook. It directly flattened most of the Class B rental area. Tisk tisk tisk, this power, this scene, it's such a pity that I couldn't see it with my own eyes. Another middle-aged man nearby couldn't help rolling his eyes when he heard this extremely exaggerated speculation. Hey, can you stop exaggerating? There were indeed flames shooting up to the sky, but flying sand and rocks and shaking the earth are too much, right? Didn't I hear that too? The wretched man looked around and laughed. If it wasn't like this, would those patrolmen search so hard? Don't talk nonsense. The middle-aged man sneered and waved his hand. I heard that there was just a private fight last night. It's not as exaggerated as the rumors say. Hey, Wan Dao, what you said is wrong. I am not exaggerating. You haven't heard anything more exaggerated yet. If you don't believe me, just listen. The wretched man was full of indignation and motioned the middle-aged man surnamed Wan to listen to the surrounding voices. As expected, all the monks sitting in the hall on the first floor of Beixiang Tower were also excitedly discussing this matter. Have you heard? Last night, someone dropped hundreds of fireball talismans in the Class B rental area, almost destroying the entire Class B rental area. No, that's not true. I heard that a demon cultivator sneaked into the market and wanted to slaughter humans in the market. In the end, he was discovered and expelled by the patrol team. What are you talking about? If it was really a demon cultivator and he was expelled, would the patrol team still have to go to great lengths to hunt him down? That's right, you are all wrong. Instead, I heard that a robbery cultivator sneaked into the market last night and wanted to take the opportunity to make a fortune, so he found a few people from the San Xiu Fushi Association, and then killed them in one fell swoop and set fire to the bodies. Now the patrol team is trying their best to track down those robbery cultivators. As the discussion became louder and louder, all kinds of rumors became more and more exaggerated. There were really all kinds of rumors, even demon cultivators and robbery cultivators appeared. There were even people who swore that it was because several old talisman masters from the San Xiu Fushi Association failed to study talismans and were blown to death. Such a ridiculous rumor made other cultivators sneer. In fact, all of them were just talking about what happened last night to kill time. Originally, many people didn't know that there was such an organization as the Loose Cultivator Talisman Master Association in the market, but after today, many people knew about it. Among the many rumors, the only accurate news was about the Loose Cultivator Talisman Master Association. After all, 5 members of the Loose Cultivator Talisman Master Association died this time, and 2 were seriously injured, and they were almost wiped out. It can be said that the price of fame is really huge. At this time, the discussion about the Loose Cultivator Talisman Master Association became more and more heated. As these rumors became more and more outrageous, the true cause and effect of the incident began to slowly surface. The Loose Cultivator Talisman Master Association coveted the lucrative profits of others selling talismans and wanted to gain something for nothing, Several veteran talisman masters of the Loose Cultivator Talisman Master Association wanted to share the profits of the mysterious talisman master, but were rejected. Afterwards, he hired someone to follow the mysterious talisman master, wanting to use some dirty tricks to achieve his goal. The mysterious talisman master had a violent temper. After beheading the pursuer, he found the gathering place of the Loose Cultivator Talisman Master Association in the middle of the night and attacked several veteran talisman masters of the Loose Cultivator Talisman Master Association with dozens of fireball talismans. When these truths were exposed, they instantly caused more heated discussions. Many cultivators were full of curiosity and interest in the mysterious talisman master. Haha, the Loose Cultivator Talisman Master Association has hit a wall this time. They deserve it. You're right. You provoke them without knowing their background. Aren't you kicked in the head by a donkey? Dozens of fireball talismans were used in one go? What a big deal. It seems that the Loose Cultivator Talisman Master Association will be expelled. It seems that only 2 old men are lucky enough to survive. After learning the real cause and effect, the cultivators in the market suddenly changed their opinions on the Loose Cultivator Talisman Master Association. At the same time, they were also extremely shocked by the boldness and generosity of the mysterious talisman master. You know, even if ordinary people want to seek revenge, they dare not take action in the market, for fear of exposing their identities and attracting endless pursuit by the patrol team. But the mysterious talisman master was extremely decisive, which made many cultivators admire him very much. For low-level cultivators, this kind of small conflict is worth talking about for a while. After this incident, the 2 surviving old talisman masters who had just woken up from a coma were so angry that they vomited blood again. Then, in a rage, they did not hesitate to spend a lot of money and directly offered a reward. They threatened that as long as they could find the mysterious talisman master and kill him, they were willing to offer 200 first-level low-grade talismans and 100 first-level medium-grade talismans to thank the person who completed the reward. Obviously, the 2 surviving old talisman masters only wanted the attacker's life. They wanted to retaliate and use the other party's life to commemorate the dead Suguan and others. This is also the only way for them to find the other party at present. They have no other way. The 2 surviving old talisman masters believed that there must be brave men under a heavy reward. For this reason, they even did not hesitate to sacrifice most of the talismans they had accumulated throughout their lives, just to be able to get revenge. Chapter 395 The Way of Formation. 3 days later, the disturbance caused by the scattered cultivators of the talisman masters began to gradually subside. The patrol team pretended to investigate for a few days and then chose to give up. After all, the dead were only a few scattered cultivators with no background. If the patrol team really had to pay a huge price to invite the outer sect masters of Kingayan sect to track down the murderer of this private fight, they would not be happy. After all, they could not affect the operation of the entire market because of a small matter. Being able to search for 3 days was already extremely responsible. Even if they started to investigate from the interpersonal relationships of Suguan and others, they still could not find much useful information. The discussion in the market about the incident caused by the scattered cultivators of the talisman masters was also slowly subsiding, and they began to discuss other things that had just happened. As a result, the Kingayan Mountain market also returned to peace again, as if nothing had happened. Only the 2 old talisman masters who survived from Wei Hong's hands were still persevering in offering generous rewards, and they wanted Wei Hong's life. Unfortunately, the rewards they offered were destined to be unclaimed. When all the disturbances and discussions slowly subsided, Wei Hong, who had been worried, breathed a sigh of relief. It's finally over. Fortunately, I ran fast, otherwise it would be troublesome if I was caught. Wei Hong felt relieved. Although this move was risky, he did not regret it at all. Instead, he felt very happy that he could completely solve the problem of the Loose Cultivator Talisman Master Association. After all, it is not a good thing to be secretly thought of by others. Although there are still 2 old immortals with long lives, it's not a big problem. It's just that I may not be able to set up a stall to sell talismans in the future. Alice. Wei Hong sighed and felt very helpless. It can be said that he was completely a victim in this matter and had no intention of provoking anyone. However, others thought he was easy to control and wanted to control him to make him serve the Loose Cultivator Talisman Master Association. Otherwise, Wei Hong would not have taken the risk and took a huge risk to solve Suguan and others. After this incident, his way of making money by drawing talismans was completely blocked. Firstly, the patrol team led by Lin Zai has been looking for the mysterious talisman master who sells talismans, and they will surely keep an eye on the market in the future. Secondly, everyone in the market now knows that the person who attacked the Association of Loose Cultivators is a talisman master, so if Wei Hong wants to go out and set up a stall to sell talismans again, it would be equivalent to exposing his identity. No matter how he disguises himself, it will be useless. He will definitely be suspected by those who are interested. It will be troublesome if the patrol team comes to find him. I was already in a tight spot, and now this has happened. Even the only way to make money is blocked for me. Damn it, it's disgusting. Wei Hong couldn't help but curse inwardly when he thought that he could no longer sell talismans to make money. He worked so hard for so long, and drew talismans so hard every month to barely improve his living standards. Who knew that he would be back to the original state in an instant? How could Wei Hong not feel angry? Forget it, if I can't set up a stall, then I can't set up a stall. It's better than exposing my identity. Wei Hong slowly calmed down and began to change his mind. Since the way of drawing talismans is not feasible, then I should consider other ways. In the 100 Arts of Cultivating Immortals, in addition to drawing talismans, refining pills, refining instruments and array formations, there are also beast taming, spiritual plants and puppets, etc. Except for drawing talismans, the other mainstream skills seem to be difficult to learn, and it is even more difficult to master them. Which one should I choose? Now Wei Hong can no longer go out to set up a stall to sell talismans, and he can't get much salary in the talisman workshop. The basic salary of 10 spirit stones per month can't even maintain the daily spiritual rice and monster meat, so he must find a way to find a better way to make money. Naturally, Wei Hong wants to choose another way from the 100 Arts of Cultivating Immortals. As we all know, the 100 Arts of Cultivating Immortals are also divided into small and large. For example, the most mainstream ones are alchemy, refining instruments, drawing talismans and array formations, which are also the 4 arts that most people learn. Some of the less popular skills than the mainstream 4 arts of Cultivating Immortals include spiritual plans, beast taming, and puppetry. The remaining skills, such as raising goo, refining corpses, practicing medicine, and incantations, are much less popular in comparison. Therefore, most cultivators generally choose to learn one of the 4 arts of drawing talismans, refining pills, refining tools, and array formations. Now Wei Hong is also considering this issue, how to choose another skill as a way to make money. Wei Hong thought carefully. The profit of pills is indeed very lucrative, but the cost is not low, and too many resources need to be invested in the early stage. If the success rate of pills cannot be improved, it is equivalent to throwing spiritual stones into the pill furnace, which can never be filled, so let's not consider refining pills for now. Refining tools is the same as refining pills. The two are not much different. A lot of resources and costs need to be invested in the early stage, so there is no choice at present. In this case, it seems that only the way of array formations is left. Wei Hong thought about it and ruled out the 2 skills of refining pills and refining tools, leaving only the way of array formations. This seems to be his most suitable choice at present. Small-scale skills like raising goo, taming beasts, puppets, and refining corpses are not ways to make money. They are generally used to enhance strength and are basically not considered. After careful consideration, Wei Hong locked his sights on the formation. In this case, let's choose the formation. Wei Hong secretly made up his mind, and then continued to think, as long as I learn the way of formation, it will not be difficult to earn spirit stones. The way of formation is difficult to learn and master, but the speed of making money after learning it is better than drawing talismans. As we all know, the 4 arts of Cultivating Immortals have their own characteristics. The 3 skills of drawing talismans, refining pills, and refining instruments actually have the same characteristics, that is, high cost, large initial investment, and it is difficult to improve the success rate. It takes a lot of resources to practice before you can get started. Compared with the previous 3 skills, the way of formation is completely different. The way of formation has always been mysterious and the most mysterious and obscure. Generally speaking, it is a luxury for people with insufficient comprehension to get started. Therefore, the way of formation is definitely not a skill that can be learned by consuming resources. To learn the art of formation, one must rely on one's understanding and talent. Of course, resources and secrets of formation are also indispensable. This is why most of the masters of formation in the world of immortal cultivation are from major sects. It is not only because independent cultivators lack resources and various secrets of formation that are not passed on to others, but also because independent cultivators lack professional training. Therefore, it is absolutely rare for an independent cultivator to have a formation master, which makes the art of formation an extremely difficult skill that is out of reach. Once you learn the art of formation and become a formation master, the status of this formation master will be greatly improved. After all, the rarer, the more precious, and Wei Hong still understands this principle. The most important thing is that the mysterious and obscure art of formation is very easy for Wei Hong to solve. Chapter 396, Taking a Risk. Wei Hong still couldn't understand the mystery and obscurity of the way of formation. But he knew that the skills that could make the majority of cultivators stay away and dare not touch were definitely not simple, and it was not an exaggeration to say that they were the most difficult skills. However, this was also one of the reasons why Wei Hong chose the way of formation. It was a rare thing for a casual cultivator to become a formation master, which meant that there were probably not many formation masters in the entire Qinghai Mountain market. As long as Wei Hong became a formation master, it would not be difficult to earn spirit stones. Mysterious and obscure? As long as I have enough vitality points, am I still afraid that I can't master the way of formation? Wei Hong smiled confidently, and his mood was much relieved. For others, the way of formation is naturally obscure and difficult to understand. But for Wei Hong, who has a system, this problem is not difficult at all. As long as he brushes enough vitality points, he can continuously improve the realm of the way of formation by adding points. By then, the way of formations, which others could not get started in for several years or even more than 10 years, was easy for Wei Hong to learn, so the way of formations became Wei Hong's only choice. Let me think about it. Wei Hong tapped his head lightly and said to himself, I have seen it in the General Affairs Hall before. It seems that there are many tasks related to formations, and the rewards seem to be not low. As long as I learn the formations, won't those tasks that no one accepts be in my pocket? All along, the General Affairs Hall has issued various tasks related to formations. For example, repairing formations, helping people set up formations and repairing formation plates, etc. These are tasks that only formation masters can complete. There are not many formation masters in Qinghai Mountain Market, which has caused almost no one to accept those formation tasks. As long as Wei Hong becomes a formation master, then earning spirit stones will be as easy as playing. I will choose the formation. I will find someone to inquire about it another day to see what conditions are required to learn the formation. Wei Hong made up his mind decisively and chose the way of formations as another way to make money. 7 days later, Wei Hong sat at the only table in the rented room, his face full of deep thought. According to the news I have heard these days, it is not easy to learn the art of formation. I can't even afford the cheapest formation scroll now. Wei Hong couldn't help but smile bitterly when he thought of the price of the formation scroll. After some inquiries in the past few days, his determination to learn the formation became even stronger. However, if he wanted to learn the formation, let alone other things, the simplest condition of buying the formation scroll directly made Wei Hong feel troubled. There was no other reason, it was too expensive. He went to the treasure pavilion to inquire about the price. The most rubbish first-grade low-grade formation scroll required more than 120 spirit stones. This was still the cheapest, and the expensive ones were as high as hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of spirit stones. Wei Hong was stunned on the spot and almost thought he had heard it wrong. Just one first-level lower-grade formation scroll costs more than 120 spirit stones. This is simply robbing money. Where can I find so many spirit stones? Wei Hong wanted to complain at this moment. He is now penniless and can only live on the wages from the talisman workshop every month. The rent is 5 spirit stones every month, and there are some other expenses. Apart from these, there is not much left from his wages. It is even difficult to afford a meal of spirit rice and monster meat every day. If this continues, it will be basically difficult to buy a formation scroll. If he can still set up a stall to sell talismans every month, he can accumulate it quickly, but the way to sell talismans has been completely blocked. The more Wei Hong thought about it, the more headache he had. Alice, as the saying goes, a penny can make a hero fail. Now I am not short of a penny, but hundreds of spirit stones. With my current income, I am afraid that I can't accumulate it in 2 or 3 years. The way of formation is the best way he can think of to make money, as long as he can buy formation scrolls. However, the simplest condition turned out to be the biggest problem. Wei Hong felt helpless. After thinking hard, he still couldn't figure out where to find 120 spirit stones. Damn it, you can't let me rob them, right? Wei Hong muttered, slightly depressed. It was this unconscious sentence that seemed like a flash of lightning that split the fog in Wei Hong's mind. Yet, why can't I rob them? Wei Hong raised his head suddenly, his eyes suddenly brightened. Isn't there a target here? Those two old men want my life and are offering a bounty for my arrest. If that's the case, why don't I deliver myself to them? Anyway, I have been a mortal enemy with them for a long time. If I can rob them while solving my enemy, isn't this killing two birds with one stone? Those two old men offered such a high bounty to find me. They must be very wealthy. It seems like I can really do something. Wei Hong became more and more excited as he thought about it, and his confusion and depression just now were swept away. He seemed to have found a solution to the shortage of spirit stones, and this solution made him quite excited. A few days ago, he had learned that the two of the 7 old talisman masters of the Sangxi Ufu Master Association who survived by chance were named Zhang Qinyan and Jia Honggayu. Wei Hong didn't know how Zhang Qinyan and Jia Honggayu survived by chance, but he knew that he and the two had a deadly feud. From the actions of Zhang Qinyan and the other, it was clear that they offered a high reward and wanted to take Wei Hong's life. Such a deadly feud could not be reconciled at all. In this case, in order to completely solve the two deadly enemies and to gather funds to buy the formation scroll, Wei Hong naturally wanted to make another move. It's settled. Find an opportunity to kill them. Kill one and it's won. I want to see how rich they are. Wei Hong's eyes flashed with cold light, and he made up his mind immediately. He knew very well that Zhang Qinyan and Jia Honggayu, two old guys who had been drawing talismans for their entire lives, must have a lot of wealth, which could be seen from the bounties they offered. As long as he was careful and succeeded in doing something, he believed that the funds for purchasing the erase scrolls would definitely be gathered, and Wei Hong would not have to worry about it anymore. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that there was a way, so he began to think carefully. Wei Hong knew that many people were looking for him now, both for the bounty and for the face of the patrol team. Once he made a move in the market again, the possibility of being exposed would increase. However, in order to solve the current problem, Wei Hong finally decided to take the risk. Chapter 397, Murder and Robbery. Qinghai Unshan Market, Class B rental area. A middle-aged man with ordinary appearance, who was not noticeable in the crowd, was walking around the Class B rental area. Although he seemed to be walking around casually, he would glance at house number 78 from time to time. However, his movements were more concealed, so no one noticed that he was monitoring house number 78. Seeing that the door of house number 78 had no intention of opening, the middle-aged man with ordinary appearance walked slowly to the other side. This middle-aged man was Wei Hong after he changed his appearance. The house number 78 he was monitoring was Zhang Qinyan's residence. Jia Honggayu's residence was in house number 65. Since he made up his mind to take risks and prepared to take action against Zhang Qinyan or Jia Honggayu, Wei Hong has been following and monitoring the two people whenever he has time in the past half-month. He first asked someone to find out the residences of Zhang Qinyan and Jia Honggayu, and then began to monitor the two by changing his appearance. At the beginning, Zhang Qinyan and Jia Honggayu, who had not yet fully recovered from their injuries, did not go out much, leaving Wei Hong with no idea for a long time. It was not until 2 days ago that he saw Zhang Qinyan's figure. After memorizing Zhang Qinyan's appearance, Wei Hong decided to make Zhang Qinyan his target this time. Originally, he should have been at the 4th level of key training, but after being seriously injured, his aura seemed to have dropped to the 3rd level. Wei Hong thought to himself, it seems that the injury had a great impact on the two old guys. Even if they have recovered, their cultivation has inevitably dropped a lot. In this case, there is a lot to be done. The more Wei Hong thought about it, the more he felt that there was something to be done. A few days ago, he had quietly approached Zhang Qinyan with a disguised appearance and carefully felt his aura. He found that Zhang Qinyan was not only a little old, but also had a deficiency of qi and blood in his body. He also had a sense of being in his twilight years. It must be that the previous serious injury had caused him to lose a lot of vitality, so that he looked a little old. No wonder that old guy offered a high reward for me. It seems that he is lucky to be able to keep his life. Thinking of Zhang Qinyan's appearance, Wei Hong understood why the other party offered a high reward for him. To be honest, if he was also treated like this, he might also spend all his wealth to take revenge. After all, if he didn't get rid of this breath, the knot in his heart would always remain there. That old man is so old, it's better for him to die. I can be regarded as fulfilling his wish. Wei Hong sneered. In order not to arouse suspicion, he immediately turned around and left the Class B rental area. Half a month passed again. During this half-month, Wei Hong took time to track and monitor Zhang Qinyan every day. At the same time, he was also looking for an opportunity to attack, but unfortunately, he didn't find it after half a month. I don't know if it was because of the previous sneak attack, whether it was Zhang Qinyan or Jia Hongao, they seemed to be more cautious. They basically never left alone. Every time they went out, at least 2 people went out together or even more people went out together. Or they often didn't go out for several days in a row, as if they were really afraid that the previous things would happen again. But Wei Hong was not impatient or anxious. Instead, he was like a top hunter, hiding in the dark, waiting for his prey to reveal its weakness. Sure enough, after tracking for a few days, the opportunity Wei Hong had been waiting for finally appeared. The prey he was targeting finally revealed its weakness. Hey, I thought you, an old man, would never be alone. Looking at Zhang Qinyan's lone figure, Wei Hong sneered quietly. He originally thought that he would waste time again today, but he didn't expect to gain anything. Starting from the market, Zhang Qinyan strolled around, bought a few materials at the market, and then walked back to his residence. I don't know if it was because there had been no more incidents after a month or 2 since the attack, which made Zhang Qinyan slowly relax his vigilance. Of course, it is also possible that it was because it was daytime and the market was not far from the Class B rental area, so Zhang Qinyan was a little relaxed and careless, so that he was alone, and there was no one else following him. No matter what the reason was, Wei Hong only knew that the opportunity he had been waiting for a long time had finally appeared. He followed quietly, hanging far behind Zhang Qinyan. His ordinary appearance was inconspicuous in the crowd, so no one noticed that he was following Zhang Qinyan. After leaving the bustling market, the number of cultivators passing by Zhang Qinyan began to decrease. After all, if they did not live in the same Class B rental area, few people would go there. Wei Hong observed carefully for a while and found that Zhang Qinyan was indeed on his way back to his rental house, so he quietly went around to the other side instead of following him all the time to make people suspicious. He was sure that there was no one behind Zhang Qinyan at the moment. Come on, I've been waiting for you for a long time. Wei Hong quietly quickened his pace while brewing murderous intent in his heart. He went around from another alley and accelerated to get in front of Zhang Qinyan. Then he pretended to pass by and walked towards Zhang Qinyan from the other end of the street. Wei Hong acted very normal, with his hands empty and his eyes scattered. At the same time, he restrained his breath and tried his best to make himself look harmless. When Zhang Qinyan saw someone coming towards him, he instinctively became alert, his eyes faintly revealed a hint of vigilance, and even his body was slightly tense. But the person walking opposite him did not make any move, but walked past him normally. Turning his head to look at Wei Hong, who walked a few steps away, Zhang Qinyan breathed a sigh of relief, his frown slowly loosened, and even his tense body relaxed. But at this moment, a voice suddenly sounded from behind him. Fellow Taoist Zhang. That one. Hearing someone calling him, Zhang Qinyan subconsciously responded and wanted to turn his head to see who was calling him. This was a completely subconscious reaction, and it happened to be stuck at the moment when Zhang Qinyan's mind just relaxed. So, when Zhang Qinyan turned his head and looked back, a dark and simple long sword came into his side and instantly enlarged in his eyes. The speed was so fast that Zhang Qinyan was completely unable to react. This is... puff. Before all the thoughts in Zhang Qinyan's mind could come to light, he heard a puff sound, and then his vision began to roll. While rolling, he was shocked to see a familiar headless body standing there. Where did the headless body come from? No, that seems to be me. As the flying head fell heavily to the ground, Zhang Qinyan's last consciousness fell into darkness. Chapter 398 A Great Harvest. I have to say that Wei Hong chose a perfect time. He knew that Zhang Qinyan would be alert when he saw a stranger coming towards him. Especially for Zhang Qinyan, who had just experienced an attack some time ago, his instinctive vigilance must be even stronger. Therefore, Wei Hong did not choose to attack head-on, but cleverly disguised himself. He walked straight past Zhang Qinyan like a passerby, without any action at all. He even walked a few steps away, which made Zhang Qinyan let down his guard. It was just when Zhang Qinyan just relaxed his mind and let down his guard that Wei Hong chose to attack. He lowered Zhang Qinyan's alert reaction with a call. Step. Swing the sword. All in one go. In order to ensure that this attack would be successful and to reduce the noise as much as possible, Wei Hong decisively took out a black sword that he had been nurturing for a long time, in order to kill him with one blow. As his most powerful trump card at present, the horror of the black sword is naturally self-evident. As expected, his lightning-fast swing of the sword made Zhang Qinyan completely unable to react, and he was beheaded by the sword. And Wei Hong tried his best to control the momentum of using the black sword, and did not burst out much noise or magic fluctuations. Let's go. After beheading Zhang Qinyan with the sword, Wei Hong was very neat and tidy and ran away. As expected of an old talisman master, there is indeed a storage bag. Wei Hong's fingers gently stroked the storage bag in his arms, and he was very excited. But now is not the time to check the storage bag. He put the storage bag away and suddenly went into an alley. After twists and turns, and with his multiple disguises and changes of clothes, Wei Hong did not find any signs of being followed, so he slowly breathed a sigh of relief. No one should have seen it just now. Wei Hong frowned slightly and thought to himself, I carefully observed before I took action. There happened to be no one in nearby. It shouldn't be traced back to me, right? After thinking carefully in his heart, he found that he was not in any danger of being exposed, so he was relieved. At this time, the noise not far away was getting louder and louder. It must be that Zhang Qinyan's headless body had been discovered. The patrol team also began to rush to the place where Zhang Qinyan died. Wei Hong ignored these things. After restoring his original appearance, he quietly returned to the rented house. In order to kill this time, he had been squatting and tracking for more than a month. Now he was able to succeed because he had enough forbearance and patience. No matter what, the result is very satisfactory. Wei Hong raised the corner of his mouth slightly. Although he had not started to check the storage bag looted from Zhang Qinyan, the wealth of those who could afford the storage bag must be very high. Just think about it, although Zhang Qinyan's cultivation is not high, he is only a first-level middle-grade talisman master, but how could his wealth accumulated for decades be small? If he really didn't have a rich wealth, how could he offer a high reward? Just thinking about this, Wei Hong couldn't help but start to get excited and expectant. Let me see how rich that old guy is. With curiosity and expectation, Wei Hong slowly opened Zhang Qinyan's storage bag. He turned the bag upside down and poured all the items in the storage bag onto the table. The moment he saw the items clearly, Wei Hong's eyes lit up. Haha, not bad, not bad. It's worth it that I have been stalking for more than a month and taking great risks to kill that old guy. These spoils alone are worth my effort. Wei Hong couldn't help laughing happily, with a look of satisfaction on his face. Because the pile of spoils in front of him was indeed rich. The first and most obvious one was the spirit stones. Wei Hong roughly counted and found that there were more than 180 of them, which was almost equal to his income from selling talismans for 2 months. When the pile of spirit stones was poured out, they scattered on the table, and the sparkling ones almost made Wei Hong unable to take his eyes away. Huh? Now the money for the formation scroll is finally collected. Seeing the pile of spirit stones, Wei Hong breathed a sigh of relief. Originally, he took this risk just to collect enough money to buy the formation scroll. Now he was naturally very satisfied with the result. At least half of the goal had been achieved. He would not be disappointed even if the other spoils were worse. As long as he could buy the formation scroll, his next goal of learning the formation would be completely achieved. Very good, let me see what else there is. Wei Hong suppressed his excitement and continued to check the other spoils. The second type was talismans, several kinds of talismans. Zhang Qinyan was an experienced talisman master, so it would surprise Wei Hong that there were not many talismans in his storage bag. He picked up several different kinds of talismans and put them aside, then checked them by category. Fireball talisman, only 2? This old guy is not good. This is the water shield talisman, there are more than 10, not bad. Oh? There are also a few Vajra talismans? Fortunately, he didn't use them. Wei Hong put them away after checking, because he didn't find any talismans that surprised him. Instead, the following harvest made him feel extremely surprised. Hey, this is a talisman. Wei Hong's breathing became heavier. It's really a talisman, and there are more than one. You are indeed a veteran talisman master. Your wealth is really rich. Looking at the 2 talisman books in his hand, Wei Hong couldn't help but sigh with emotion. At this moment, he was holding 2 talismans, one of which was a first-level medium-grade talisman, the Thorn Talisman, and the other was also a first-level medium-grade talisman, called the Earth Wall Talisman. At this moment, Wei Hong felt much more surprised than when he saw the more than 100 spirit stones just now. Good, 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 they are all first-level medium-grade talismans, and they are all the ones I want to buy but can't afford. This is not a pillow that just happened to be delivered when I was dozing off. That old guy, what a good man. When Wei Hong thought that the dead Jenkinian could still contribute so many spoils to him, he couldn't help but want to praise him. Wei Hong was originally a talisman master, so his desire for talismans was self-evident. Especially the 2 talismans collected by Jenkinian were very good, which made Wei Hong very satisfied. As long as he learned the Thorn Talisman and the Earth Wall Talisman, even if he could not sell the talismans at the stall, his strength would be greatly enhanced, and his means of survival would be greatly enhanced. Therefore, Wei Hong felt that his move this time was a wise move. After a long time, the excitement in his heart slowly subsided. Then he continued to check and found that in addition to the previous trophies, Jenkinian also collected 2 magic weapons in a robe. The magic weapons were a first-level medium-quality flying sword and a first-level low-quality folding fan. The robe was a brand new first-level low-quality robe, which was naturally much better than the one Wei Hong was wearing. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 399 Formation Scroll, Water Mist Formation. After checking all the spoils, Wei Hong was very excited. Haha, this trip was really worthwhile, not bad. Wei Hong was in a very good mood at the moment. He took a risk this time, but the result was very satisfying. First, he successfully solved a deadly enemy, so that he would not be remembered by others. Second, he made his originally shriveled purse full all of a sudden, successfully solving the current problem of capital shortage. Third, he got 2 new talismans, which expanded his talisman skills. It can be said that he killed 3 birds with 1 stone. Especially the unexpected harvest of the 2 first-level medium-quality talismans, the Thorn Talisman and the Earth Wall Talisman, made Wei Hong most satisfied. You know, the Talisman Workshop has just changed its manager not long ago. If the former easy-to-talk manager Wang was still there, it would be easy to say, Wei Hong might be able to ask him for a few first-level medium-quality talismans in the future. The previous Fireball Talisman came in this way. But now Yan Feng has been replaced as the manager. Wei Hong has no hope of getting talismans from the Talisman Workshop. Therefore, the Thorn Talisman and the Earth Wall Talisman came at the perfect time, and were just right, which made Wei Hong very happy. The Thorn Talisman and the Earth Wall Talisman are good things, one for attack and one for defense, and can also restrict and change the terrain. After getting the 2 talismans, Wei Hong even began to think about their various combat functions in his mind. After checking the various spoils again, Wei Hong's excitement slowly subsided. The next day, after Wei Hong went out, he first found a place to disguise himself as a slightly burly middle-aged monk, and then went straight to the treasure pavilion. In order to prevent more trouble at night, he decided to buy a formation scroll immediately. After arriving at the treasure pavilion, Wei Hong asked directly, "How much is the first-grade lower-grade formation scroll? Can you bring it to me?" "Hello, sir, please wait a moment, I will show it to you right away." When the waiter who served Wei Hong heard his request, his eyes lit up instantly, and the smile on his face became more enthusiastic. He immediately ran to get what Wei Hong wanted. Soon, the waiter returned to Wei Hong with several scrolls in his arms. "Please look at these scrolls, they are all first-class lower-grade array scrolls, namely the Water Mist Array, the Falling Rock Array, the Fire Dragon Array and the Gathering Spirit Array." The servant lined up the 4 scrolls and introduced them briefly. This Water Mist Array is a water-attributed array, and it is also a common primary array. The Water Mist Array has a simple psychedelic effect, and it also has the effects of blocking spiritual awareness, defense and binding. The Falling Rock Array is a primary earth-attributed array, which has the effects of attacking and changing terrain, and is very powerful. The Fire Dragon array is similar to the Falling Rock array, but the attributes are different, but it is very powerful among the primary arrays. The last Gathering Spirit array is the most basic Gathering Spirit array, which can condense spiritual energy and help practice. In fact, from the names of the arrays, we can roughly know the attributes and effects of these arrays. After the simple introduction by the servant, Wei Hong had a more intuitive understanding. He didn't even need to ask the price, he first ruled out a Gathering Spirit array. After all, the little effect brought by the primary Gathering Spirit array is just better than nothing, and it is not worth buying. After thinking for a while, Wei Hong asked, "What are the prices of the 3 formations?" The Water Mist formation is 120 spiritual stones per roll, the Rockfall formation is 135 spiritual stones per roll, and the Fire Dragon formation is 150 spiritual stones per roll. The servant quoted the prices one by one with a smile. Obviously, the Rockfall formation and the Fire Dragon formation, which have powerful attack effects, are much more expensive than the Water Mist formation. This is also the normal market price, because in the world of immortal cultivation, such powerful items are often the most popular. Although the Water Mist formation seems to have many functions, as a primary formation, the various functions of the Water Mist formation are not very powerful, so the price is naturally a little worse. After hearing the quotation, Wei Hong asked abruptly, "I want to ask, are the independent courtyards in the Class A rental area outside arranged with this kind of Water Mist formation?" Ah. The servant was a little slow to react, and then he smiled and nodded and said, "Sir, you are right. All the independent courtyards in the market are arranged with Water Mist formations, which is also the regulation of King Ainman." Sure enough. Wei Hong was instantly excited when he heard it. He was a little uncertain at first, but now he is finally relieved. Because he had inquired before, the Water Mist formation seems to be the most common formation in the market. First, the formation arranged in all the independent courtyards in the market is the Water Mist formation. Second, Wei Hong went to the General Affairs Hall to check. Every month, there are a lot of tasks about repairing and arranging Water Mist formations in the General Affairs Hall. This is also one of the most frequently used primary formations. Especially now after the confirmation of the servant, Wei Hong is more confident. Obviously, as long as he bought a Water Mist formation and learned it, he could go to the General Affairs Hall to take on tasks related to the Water Mist formation and earn a lot of spirit stones. In this way, the formation will replace drawing talismans as another way for him to make money. And it will be a very prosperous way to make money. When Wei Hong thought that there were almost no people competing with him for the tasks of repairing and arranging formations, he couldn't help but get excited. Money, each task is a lot of spirit stones, wouldn't it be too sorry for myself if I don't make this money? Wei Hong was secretly excited in his heart, and at the same time he immediately made up his mind, "Let's take the Water Mist formation, I'll buy this volume of formation." His voice was full of determination and a little excitement. The servant's eyes lit up, and he immediately smiled and responded, "Okay, wait a moment, sir, I'll help you install it right away." After that, the servant quickly installed the Water Mist formation for Wei Hong. Wei Hong also took out 120 spiritual stones and gently placed them on the table. "Here, these are 120 spiritual stones. Count them. If the number is right, we'll be done with both money and goods." "Haha, I'm sorry." The servant apologized with a smile, and then counted the spiritual stones in front of Wei Hong. "Okay, the number is right, exactly 120 spiritual stones, please take them." After finding that the number of spiritual stones was right, the servant smiled and handed over the Water Mist array formation scroll. Wei Hong took it and looked at it, and nodded after finding that it was right. Then he turned around and walked out of the treasure pavilion without stopping. 120 spiritual stones were sold at once. Such a deal is definitely not small among casual cultivators. What's more, he now has a formation scroll worth 120 spiritual stones in his arms. It would be a lie to say that he is not afraid of being targeted. Therefore, Wei Hong immediately found a place to disguise himself as quickly as possible and returned to the rental house. Chapter 400, Formation and Practice. Ling. The first level inferior formation Water Mist formation has been successfully recorded. Current proficiency is 1/100. That night, Wei Hong began to take out the Water Mist formation to comprehend. After spending more than half an hour, the system finally successfully included the Water Mist formation. Sure enough, The mystery and obscurity of the formation are really not something that ordinary people can understand. Wei Hong couldn't help but sigh when he saw that it took the system more than half an hour to complete the recording of the water mist formation. You know, a first-level inferior spell like the Woodthorn spell only took a few breaths of time to be recorded by the system. By comparing it, you can see how obscure the formation is. Fortunately, the system is still as powerful as ever. After successfully recording the water mist formation, Wei Hong looked at his less than 600 vitality points left and fell into deep thought. After thinking about it, he decisively added 400 vitality points to the water mist formation. Ling. First level low-grade formation, water mist formation, proficiency plus 100, current proficiency mastery, 1/300, Ling. First level low-grade formation, water mist formation, proficiency plus 300, current proficiency minor success, 1/500, with 400 vitality points. Wei Hong upgraded the water mist formation to the minor success realm. In an instant, a huge amount of formation knowledge suddenly burst out of his mind. It was as if someone was forcibly pouring knowledge into his brain with a funnel. The sudden impact made Wei Hong pale. He did not dare to neglect it, and immediately began to concentrate and calmly accept the formation knowledge that suddenly appeared in his mind. After a full stick of incense, Wei Hong slowly opened his eyes. Huh? This formation knowledge is really complicated. This is just a minor success realm and it almost fills my brain. No wonder there is only one formation master in 10,000. Now Wei Hong finally realized more intuitively why it is difficult for a formation master to appear among casual cultivators. The knowledge of formations is too profound and complicated, and at the same time, it is difficult to understand. This is just a first-level low-grade water mist formation, which is the most common primary formation. If it is replaced with a higher-level formation, the degree of mystery and complexity will increase exponentially. Without the corresponding resources and system training, it is really difficult for a casual cultivator to become a formation master. Fortunately, these difficulties do not exist in front of the system, allowing Wei Hong to successfully learn the water mist formation. Well, I finally didn't waste my 120 spirit stones. I hope the next task will not disappoint me. Although it is only a minor success, Wei Hong believes that this is enough for him to handle most tasks. How about, try it first? Thinking of this, Wei Hong couldn't hold back. Since he has learned how to set up the formation, he naturally has to try the effect first. After all, only when he is sure that he has mastered the water mist formation, he will have the confidence to go out and accept the task. If he wants to do it, he will do it. He plans to try his hand inside his rented house first. Let me think, what materials are needed to set up the formation? Wei Hong began to think about how to set up the formation. To be honest, this was his first time to come into contact with formations, and also his first time to set up formations. Although he had absorbed a lot of formation knowledge just now, it was not entirely true that he had mastered the formation. This required a process of practice. That's why he wanted to try his hand in the rented house first, and even thought about going outside to find a wild beast tomorrow to test the effect. At the moment, I don't have a formation flag, so I can only set up a simple version of the water mist formation. Generally speaking, even the arrangement of a primary formation such as a water mist formation requires a formation flag. If there is no formation flag, the effect will be much weaker. But Wei Hong can only do it according to his own conditions now. He first found a few pieces of spiritual iron, and then used a knife to carve some mysterious runes on those pieces of spiritual iron. After that, he began to place them one by one in specific positions according to the formation knowledge in his mind. Then he gritted his teeth and put a spiritual stone into the center of the formation with a heartache. Finally, he made hand gestures with a solemn face, mobilized the spiritual energy in his body, and began to respond to the formation. Buzz! An invisible wave flashed by. Several pieces of spiritual iron placed in specific positions began to emit a faint white light, and then it seemed that an invisible line connected them. Haha, it worked. Seeing this scene, Wei Hong was secretly happy. Sure enough, the white light on the pieces of spiritual iron began to spread rapidly, and soon connected to each other, forming a small area covered by white light with the positions of the pieces of spiritual iron as the range. And in the area covered by white light, a layer of light white mist began to spread. Wei Hong's sight was immediately blocked by this layer of white mist, but he was not surprised but overjoyed. Haha, Good. Is this the method of the water mist formation to block the prying of spiritual consciousness? Wei Hong was overjoyed. Even if it was just a simplified version of the water mist formation, it still gave him a big surprise and made him feel very satisfied. Moreover, he succeeded in setting up the formation for the first time, which greatly enriched his confidence. Next, he changed the spell and tried other means to activate the formation. After a while of experimenting, Wei Hong found some shortcomings. No, it's still impossible to truly verify the power and effect of the water mist formation indoors. And without a living target as a test subject, it's still a bit of a theory. He thought about it and immediately decided to find a wild beast outside to test the power of the water mist formation. So he immediately put away the spiritual irons used to set up the formation, and also put away the spiritual stone that had consumed 1/10 of its spiritual energy. After thinking for a while and making some preparations, he went out. After finding a hidden corner and quietly changing his appearance, he walked straight out of the market. Since he wanted to find a wild beast as a test subject but didn't want to expose his identity as a formation master, he could only go to the mountains and forests outside the market. I hope that group of robbery cultivators won't get too close to the market. With a trace of worry, Wei Hong still walked out of the market. In the past few months, he had heard that there were robbery cultivators causing trouble outside the market, and many cultivators had been killed one after another. This was also the case with Steward Wang before, so Wei Hong would not dare to be careless this time. However, he would not go far away from the market town, but would just find a wild beast near the market town to try his hand. Because Wei Hong knew very well that even if King Iron Sect did not take the initiative to clean up the robbers outside the market town, as long as they were not stupid, they would never dare to get too close to the market town. This was also the reason why Wei Hong dared to leave the market town temporarily, and he only dared to stay near the market town. In order to deal with unexpected accidents, he even made sufficient preparations. 2 miles, just 2 miles, it will definitely exceed this distance. With this in mind, Wei Hong slowly walked towards the forest. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.